Today, we'll have Kelly's June Disney World trip. That's coming up on this episode 519 of WDW Prep to Go. Hello and welcome to WDW Prep to Go, where we talk strategy and ideas for people planning their Disney trips. I am your host, Shannon Albert from WDWPrepSchool.com. Thank you for being here for episode 519. Today is another trip report. This time it's with Kelly, who recently headed to Disney World with her family for a June Disney World trip. And if you are somebody that likes to keep track of prices, she will share the total at the end. So as she is sharing the things that they do, then see if you can rack it up and come to a total at the end, because I'm always fascinated by that. And I appreciate the people that are willing to share. Before I get into my chats with Kelly, a reminder to follow on social media, and also a reminder that we do have different tools that are part of our WW Prep toolkit. And many of them they're all free to a point. And then if you're a patron, then it unlocks some extra functionality in some of those. And that includes lightning lane calculator, that includes picking your park day picker, and that includes we have different ones for looking for promotions. Like if you want to search for your trip dates and see what promotions have historically been released, we have all kinds of tools. So be sure to check that out on the website as well. I think that's it for the intro. Let's dive into my chats with Kelly. Welcome to the podcast, Kelly.
Thank you so much for having me.
We're talking on Memorial Day, Monday, May 25th, and you are headed to Disney World, you told me.
Yes, we are. We are leaving in a little over a week, Thursday, June the 4th, and we return Friday, June the 12th.
Okay. Who's we?
So we this time is myself, my husband, Justin, and our two daughters, Eleanor, who is 8, and Hattie, who is 3.
Okay. And so not a first trip.
Not a first trip. No, not for any of us. We have all been somewhat recently, actually. We took a larger extended family trip just this past October, and Eleanor has also been once prior to that. So,
okay. All right. How did you decide to go on these dates then?
So like I said, we went this past October. We loved it. Everyone had the best time. So we kind of knew that we wanted to go back. I work in public education. My husband works in college athletics. And so this is kind of a quieter time for us, obviously. But we also were targeted by the pay for 4 and stay for 6 deal that was running.
You were targeted.
Yes, we were targeted. We were heavily influenced by that opportunity. So we decided to take advantage of that. And that's how we landed on these dates.
Okay, I thought you were going to say you were targeted by a bounce back.
Oh, no, we did not capitalize on that, actually, surprisingly enough.
But you got a different promo.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So that is next week. You, your husband, 2 daughters. And are you flying or driving?
We are flying. So we live in Charlotte. So we could probably drive, but I don't like that long in the car with 2 young kids. It's just a pain. So we're actually this time, though, we are flying out of our regional airport. So a smaller little airport here in Concord, and flying a more budget airline. And we're actually flying into Sanford this time and renting a car from there. So.
Okay. I thought you might say that when you said regional airline. I thought that sounds like Sanford too.
Yep.
Okay.
So well, out of that airport or into Sanford, obviously. So that'll be a first time for us.
And would it be safe to say that you explored that option because of flight prices right now?
Yes. That was another big determining factor in how we chose these dates. The regional airline only flies on, certain days of the week. So that kind of narrowed it down for us. And then we were able to get the 4 of us round trip for under $500 for all 4 of us. So it was a really good deal, Mickey math and all of that. It was too good to pass up. So yes, that was a big factor.
That is a good deal. My one ticket, I know I live farther away, but $900 one per.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's why I'm using credit card points.
Out of our major airport, Charlotte, are a lot more expensive. So it's the first time, but we felt like it was worth it.
Yeah, I think it's good advice for anybody flying on any airline is just look at the dates right now, because you might decide that your trip dates can be determined by the flight prices.
Yes, for sure. If you have flexibility, it's really nice.
Yeah, if you can. Okay, so you're flying from Charlotte to Sanford, renting a car, and then driving it to where? Where are you staying?
So the first night we get in, we are staying on points at the Holiday Inn Orlando in Disney Springs, mainly because, again, we only had one flight option on that Thursday. It gets in around 4:00, and we really wanted to take advantage of the water park option this time around. We haven't done that before, so we're going to stay off-site so that we can really maximize that on our check-in day the following day.
I have to wonder if these hotels have gotten a little one-night stay bump because of this.
I have to imagine. There's so many right there in the area, and I think people are kind of cluing in that if I get there earlier on my check-in day, I'll have a full day to use. So
Exactly. You can actually use your water park ticket.
Right.
Because otherwise, a lot of people fly in later and they can't use it. Anyway.
Mhm.
Okay, so Holiday Inn Orlando Disney Springs for one night. Are you doing anything else on this day?
Probably not. I think we'll just kind of get our bearings and make sure we have everything that we need so that we can get up the next day and be ready to hit the water park first thing. So we'll probably go over to Disney Springs and grab dinner somewhere. But
Okay. So the next day, you've already said is a water park day, but what hotel are you changing to?
So we are going to check into Port Orleans Riverside, where we're staying for the majority of our trip. And so I'm hoping, because we're going to have a car, I'm hoping to just drive directly to the water park from our hotel and not even go to Port Orleans first. We'll have all of our stuff with us, do the water park, and then when we're finished at the water park, head to Port Orleans.
Okay. So you'll go to the water park first.
Yes.
It is easier to do when you have a car.
Yes. Yep. And since we'd have to take a bus somewhere anyway, because I think we're going to try Blizzard Beach. That's kind of what I've read for the ages of my girls. I think will be a better fit maybe than Typhoon Lagoon. We'd have to bus somewhere else. So that just seems like not as worth it. So,
Okay. So water park, then move to Port Orleans Riverside.
Yes. So we'll be back. I imagine we'll spend, a couple of hours there. Both of my girls are fishes. They love the pools. They love water slides. They love swimming and all of that. So I imagine we'll spend a good couple hours there. We do have a stroller rental that we have to meet at 4:00. So we have to be back by then, if not before. And depending on when our room is ready, if it's ready earlier, maybe we'll check that out. But otherwise, we'll meet the stroller at 4.
Which company is that?
We used, I believe it's Orlando Stroller Rentals. We used a Disney, a travel planner, and she booked that for us. So I'd have to go back in my notes and check specifically.
And is that a double?
It is a double, yes. My 8-year-old is spoiled, and it's just not worth the whining and the heat that I know will come. We did a double this past time around. She's not, a huge 8-year-old, so she still fits fine in the double, and it just makes everyone's lives a little more comfortable.
I don't think it's spoiled. I think their little legs, if we do 20,000 steps, they're doing 40 or something. You know what I mean? It's just so many steps for their little legs.
Yes. So
and it's going to be hot.
It's going to be so hot. I know. Yeah. But yeah, we'll all be happier with her in the stroller. So, so we're doing that. And then we're planning to hopefully take the boat over to Disney Springs that evening. We have a reservation to do the make your own minifigures at the Lego store at Disney Springs that night. I was able to make those reservations online pretty easily. And then hopefully we'll grab quick service. My husband, the last time we were there, we didn't make it over to Disney Springs, which he was distraught about because he loves the peanut butter cold brew at Gideon's. So this is my attempt to get him that as well. So we're going to try and do a little bit of that.
Okay, so you're having a quick service dinner, but also peanut butter cold brew.
Yes, for dessert or pre-dinner or whatever. Yes, for sure.
Okay. Any cookies in the works there too?
I'm sure. Yes, I'm sure one cannot go to Gideon's and stand in that line and not come out with cookies. So,
yes, you must. When in Rome, when in Gideon's.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
All right. So is that it for June 5th then?
Yeah, that'll probably be it. Depending on what time we get back from the water park, I don't know. We might check out the resort a little bit, but otherwise we'll just kind of lay low.
Okay. Saturday, June 6th then.
So Saturday, we have reservations for the character breakfast at Ravello at the Four Seasons, which I'm really excited to try out. I think it's called Goofy and Friends, something or other. We're not doing a ton of character dining otherwise this trip because when we went in October, I feel like we did every single character meal that you could possibly do.
Is this the only one on your list you haven't done?
But yeah, pretty much. And it's not even on property. So I'm excited to try that. I think, the food itself gets really high marks just in terms of the offerings. And I'm excited to try something different. So yeah.
Can confirm. It's good.
Yeah.
It's just that it's not often offered very often.
Right. Yeah. So this was really the only day. I think it's Thursdays and Saturdays. So
Mhm.
we're coming in on Thursday afternoon. So that didn't really work. This is the only Saturday of our trip. So I'm excited to give it a try, though.
Okay, interesting. I don't know if we've had people that have done this one. Okay, what else?
So after that, since we're going to have our car, we're going to drive obviously to the Four Seasons, and then we're going to drive. This will be our Hollywood Studios day. We're not big Star Wars people, so that's not a huge draw for us, but there are a couple of things there that my girls really enjoy. So we are Disney Visa card holders, so I'd like to try and do the photo opportunity there. It ends at noon, so we want to try and squeeze that in. First thing when we get there, our breakfast is pretty early though. I don't know if I said that. It's at 8:15. So I think we should be to the park at a reasonable time in the morning. And then we are going to do lightning lanes. So I've been kind of watching thrill data to see what time things might be available around those dates since we're not going to be rope dropping or have that early entry time. I want to try and be a little bit strategic about that. So we're going to do a couple of those Mickey and Minnie's, hopefully, Toy Story Mania, those types of things.
Anybody interested in Rock and Roller Coaster?
I am, but I think I'm the only one. So
Okay.
we'll see if I can. I don't know. Do you think they'll have a single rider line at this point already? Like when it opens, will it have the single rider line already?
I think so.
Okay. So yeah, maybe I'll be able to squeeze into that.
We're gonna find out tomorrow.
That's right. You can let me know. I'll be watching. I'll be watching. So yeah, I would love to try that. I did also see that there is a Sophia the First meet and greet that just popped back up, as well as Super Kitties, which my 3-year-old is obsessed with both of those. So I'd love to make that happen for her. And I'm looking at my notes here. Our other plan is hopefully to take the Skyliner later in the afternoon over to the boardwalk area. We have really been, again, targeted ads for all the Blue Ribbon foods, advertisements, the cheesecake, the Hawaiian rolls, the corn dogs. So I think we want to try that for like a late lunch, early dinner, since we'll be on the Skyliner kind of trip over there. So I'm hoping to do that. I would love to stick it out for Phantasmic, whether that means like going back and taking a break and then coming back that evening. That's one thing that I have never seen. And I know I would love it from the videos and clips that I've seen. I don't know that either of my girls will make it till 9 or 10:30, but maybe I can convince my husband to stay back with them and I'll take myself back over there that night if so.
Yeah. Okay. That's a fun day.
Yeah.
All right. What does June 7th, Sunday look like then?
So Sunday is now going to be our EPCOT day. We had originally planned EPCOT for Monday, actually. But again, as I was doing my lightning lane research, EPCOT lightning lanes on Sunday are only $17 for multipass. And on Monday, they're like $24. And so in my mind, that means that maybe the crowds will be lower at EPCOT because they're cheaper. Is that normally how it works?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we decided to switch those around from our original plan. So Sunday is going to be our EPCOT day. My hope is since we'll be coming from the front of the park, we're going to take the bus and hopefully rope drop Frozen so that we can knock that out and then get a lightning lane for Remy first thing. I'd like to do Frozen, walk up to Remy, do Remy's, and then get on the Skyliner to go to Riviera to get a coffee and quick service breakfast.
You know what? We have had a real run of trip reports this year that have been so different. Like
Really?
we just the hopping around is very different, and it's interesting because it's just a different way to do it. You kind of have to know what you're doing to pull it off, but you know what you're doing. Okay, so you said you're Skyline to Riviera for breakfast.
Yes, I really want to try the almond cold brew that they have at the little coffee shop, and the last time I took a solo trip around this time last year and went over to Primo Piatto for breakfast, and the lemon blueberry pancakes are just living rent free in my head since then. So I would really like to have those for breakfast. So we're going to do that and then head back to EPCOT. Hopefully my daughter's favorite princess is Jasmine, and we've had the best luck meeting her there in the little Morocco area. So we want to do some characters and kind of bounce around and do that. I'd really like to do Soarin' and try the new Soarin' Over America overlay. So that's interesting to me. And, we love the aquarium, Nemo. I think my girls would get a big kick out of Turtle Talk with Crush, which we've never done with them. So we're just going to kind of explore around there.
And the benefit is that you get out of the heat too.
Yes.
You get just go in, look at the aquarium, do Turtle Talk, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So that would be good. Okay, so you said you're using lightning lanes.
Yes, we're going to do lightning lanes every day. I just can't bring myself to with 2 youngins in the heat stand in standby lines for the
No,
majority of our trips.
it's so hard.
Yeah.
But I have faith that you'll be able to get Soren
Yes.
as well.
Yeah, so I'm hopeful. I'm a little nervous if Frozen is down at early entry, that's gonna really throw a wrench in my plans, but we'll have to, if I can get a Remy first thing and get signed tapped in for that really quickly, maybe I can still grab a Frozen for later in the evening, but we'll see.
You are very good at watching those stats.
Yeah, I've been strategizing, that's for sure.
So if you were hypothetically rope dropping Hollywood Studios, you would not be headed to Rise the Resistance.
Absolutely not. No, we would not. We would not. Nope.
Okay. What else on this day?
So I
Anything?
think that's going to be kind of an earlier night. One of the reasons we booked Port Orleans is because of the pools. Again, like I mentioned, my girls love pools. They love the slides. When we went last time in the fall, we stayed at Art of Animation, which was amazing. We loved the pool there, but there were no water slides, which my oldest was kind of bummed about. So I'm hoping to capitalize on both water slides at French Quarter and Riverside this time around. And the splash pad looks really fun at French Quarter. So
Exactly.
I think we'll do that and maybe walk over to French Quarter and get some beignets because everyone says those are just
Yes. And in case anyone's listening and thinking you can just pool hop all the time, you cannot. But at these 2 resorts, you can.
That's right. Yes.
Okay. All right.
For Sunday.
Okay. Fun day. Lots of variety. Okay. So Monday, June 8th.
So Monday will be our first Magic Kingdom day. We are going to take a bus to the park, mainly because I don't want to deal with the transportation ticket center and driving and parking our car and yada yada. So we'll take a bus. My daughter loved Snow White, the Seven Dwarfs ride last time. So that's another one that at early entry, I don't know, sometimes it'll get you, but we're going to try and rope drop that to get in there and get her first ride on that. That was her favorite ride from the fall. We don't have a lot of other plans. I definitely want to try and get lightning lanes for Big Thunder and Buzz because those were 2 that we didn't get to do when we were there in the fall and try those out. Our only other plan on this day is we're going to take the monorail over to the Poly to have lunch at Wailulu, which I'm excited to try out and probably get some Dole Whips. And then I also have been emailing back and forth with a DVC, I don't know what they're called, cast member, I guess, about possibly scheduling a tour or DVC while we're over there after we have lunch. That's something that my husband and I have kind of just been loosely starting the conversation about. So we're going to maybe see if we can set that up for while we're over there at the Poly already.
Okay. That would be good. And then you'll get a gift card or 2 in the process.
Right. That's right. My children will be all too happy to spend those. So,
yes, exactly.
So that's pretty much all we have planned for that day. We're going to kind of see where the wind takes us in terms of what kind of lightning lanes we can get and how things shake out. We will be back at Magic Kingdom again later in the week, so I'm not too worried about trying to cram everything into this day.
Are fireworks a priority?
Fireworks are priority one of the 2 Magic Kingdom days. So depending on everybody's attitudes and how the day has gone, we'll kind of just play that by ear and see, if we can, maybe we'll go back and take a nap or kind of hang out at the pool. And if everyone catches a second wind to go back to the park later in the evening, we might give that a try. So.
Okay, then let's talk about Tuesday, June 9th.
Tuesday, June 9th is our Animal Kingdom day. We will be up bright and early trying to get the virtual queue for Bluey. My girls dressed up as Bluey for Bluey and Bingo for Halloween this last year. We love Bluey in our house. So when I saw that we were going to be there potentially while it would be open, I'm very hopeful, but I've tried to kind of temper their expectations because you never know. It might not work out, but I'm hopeful. So we'll try for the virtual queue, see how that goes. I anticipate that we'll drive to Animal Kingdom because I think the parking is pretty simple there and pretty close. So when we can do that, since it's free to park, I think we'll probably do that. Let's see. We don't have, again, Flight of Passage is not really on our radar. I get a little bit of motion sickness, and I don't think my oldest would really enjoy it, and she would be the only one who would ride with me. So I don't think we'll be trying to scoop that up, but we will do Lightning Lanes multi-pass. We love the safari. Animal Kingdom is my oldest daughter's favorite park. Even before Bluey, she loves animals. She wants to be a zookeeper when she grows up. So we could spend many days there, and she would be happy with it. So we'll definitely try to do the safari, probably Navi River. My husband is a big adventurous eater, so this food scene is definitely right up his alley. So he's got a list. He's been watching all the Instagram reels trying to see what he wants to eat at Satuli or Novad Lounge or somewhere. I just want to try the ice cream sandwich. So that's on my list. But yeah, we'll kind of see. Again, Bluey is kind of the main priority. So if we don't get the 7 a.m. queue, we'll try for the 10 a.m. and hope that we can scoot out there to check them out.
Okay. Anything else on this day?
The only other thing that I wrote down is I was looking at some of the resort offerings, and they have a glow party at the Riverside pool on Tuesday nights at 8. So we might check that out if people are still up for it. But otherwise, nope, that'll be it.
Okay. I'm not familiar with the glow party at that.
It's called Glow with the Flow, it says on the...
Okay, I'm going to look that up.
Yeah.
Thank goodness there are resort guides now that
That's
you can
right. Yes.
look at.
Yes. Yep.
Okay, Wednesday, June 10th?
So this is our second Magic Kingdom day. So again, since we did the pay for 4 and stay for 6, we have 6 park ticket days to play with. So this day, we're going to go back to Magic Kingdom. We probably will do a lightning lane for Snow White just to guarantee that we get to ride it in case we didn't get to do it when we were there earlier. A couple of other things. I've been reading a little bit about the pirate scavenger hunt that they have in Adventureland. I think that's something that my girls would really enjoy. So we might check that out. It doesn't start, from what I can tell, until after 12. So I'm not sure if it just doesn't turn on or there's no one there to staff it. I don't really know. I don't really know how it works, but we're going to give that a go. Otherwise, no, we'll just have, again, lightning lanes for that day. Maybe if there were, I'm probably going to try and get Big Thunder for both days because I think my daughter is going to love it. So if we can ride it twice that way, that will be great. But just bounce around to whatever it is that we didn't get to earlier in the week or that we want to do again. We do have dinner at Boat Rights at Port Orleans that night at 5:00. And I booked a carriage ride at 6:30 to do while we're there. And then that night, I made a note, maybe we'll go back to Magic Kingdom after dinner again if people are kind of in the mood for it, if we want to do anything else. This day, my daughters think is our last day. They think we're packing up to leave and fly home on Thursday. In reality, we are packing up to leave to go for a one-night club level stay at Animal Kingdom Lodge to round out our trip. So they don't know that little piece is a surprise to them. So they think we'll be packing up to head home. So
that is super fun. Is that motivated by your older daughter's interest in animals?
It is, yes. And I think she's going to love it. I think she's going to be so just awestruck by being able to see the animals right outside the window and being kind of in that space. Again, the pools there look amazing. The splash pads, I think they're going to love that. So we'll still have one day left on our ticket, but I'm not sure that that will kind of be if anybody has any last minute things, if we don't get Bluey earlier in the week, we might try again that day. But because we are doing the club level also, I really want to maximize our time at the resort that day as kind of like a chill, low-key way to end the trip.
That is super fun.
Yeah. So we are going to meet, I skipped over this. We're going to meet the stroller drop off before we leave Port Orleans since we really probably won't be using it too much. So we'll hand that off to them that morning. And then, like I said, drive over to Animal Kingdom Lodge and do all the food offerings, the pools, see all the animals and all that sort of thing. And again, if there's anything that we missed throughout our time, we will have one more park ticket day to play with if anybody wants to scoot over anywhere, even for a couple of hours.
You're going to really sell it by being like, we have to return our strollers because we're going home.
Yeah, and then leaving. We got the whole car packed up. So I'm excited. I think they're going to be so surprised. So.
How fun.
Yeah.
Okay. And then Friday, June 12th is departure day?
Yes, that's departure day. So our flight leaves Sanford at 1:45. So we have a couple of hours in the morning. Since Sanford is a pretty tiny airport, I don't feel the need to get there super early or anything, but we will have to return the rental car. So we'll probably, do the breakfast offerings at the club, hang out, see maybe the breakfast feedings of the animals on the safari, and then we'll be heading out.
Okay. What a delightful time.
I hope so. I'm really excited.
Okay. Is there anything about your trip we haven't talked about then?
I don't think so. We are probably going to do a grocery delivery this time. I think we have Target 360, so we'll probably just get a couple of things. My youngest is still in nighttime diapers, so some of that stuff to avoid having to pack it and bring it with us. Bubble solution We do bring our own bubble wands, but I hate paying $5 for the refill in the park. So we'll get some of that delivered. Dum Dum lollipops are a park saver for my small children, some baby wipes. So just a couple of those kinds of things we're going to do. And then trying to think. Oh, I am going to buy Standby Skipper. I think since we're going to be using lightning lanes and to hopefully grab some of those maybe ones so I don't have to spend so much time on my phone while we're in the park. I've not used Standby Skipper before though, so that will be a first for me. So we'll have to see how that goes. But
yeah, let us know how it goes for you, but it tends to be pretty popular.
Yeah.
So anyway, okay, so these plans sound fun. I am excited to see how it goes, and I'll talk to you in a few weeks when you get back.
Thank you so much. We're excited.
Welcome back from your trip, Kelly.
Thank you so much for having me.
We are talking on Saturday, June 20th. So it's been a little while since we last chatted, but how did your trip go overall?
It was amazing. We had the best time. It was magical and all the things that we hoped it would be. So it was the best.
Okay. I happen to know the beginning of your trip had really unseasonably mild weather, at least for a couple days, because that's when I left. And I was so jealous because I was like, I would like to be here right now.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to hear how it went overall. So let's start at the beginning. Thursday, June 4th, you were flying from Charlotte to Sanford.
Yes. So we flew out of our little regional airport into Sanford. It was super easy. We got into Sanford around 4:15. We had a very simple rental car pickup. The rental car pickup is literally right out the door and across the crosswalk. And so that was no problem. We drove straight to Disney Springs. It was about a 45-minute drive. I will say I was a little bit worried that we were going to be hitting like rush hour traffic, but there was no traffic. So we were able to get there. We got parked at Disney Springs pretty easily. We were planning to have dinner at Polite Pig that night, and we had a little bit of a funky start to our trip. So my youngest daughter, Hattie, is 3, and her and I were going over to the soda machine to refill our drinks. And as we were standing there, the lid, I don't know if someone had just refilled the ice machine, but it fell and hit her right in the face. And it kind of like everyone around us kind of like looked around, and we looked around, and she looked at me and I looked at her. And there were 2 workers who saw it happen, and they came rushing over. Like, I have to say, they were obviously, I think they were worried that she was going to be like bleeding or broken or something in the middle of their restaurant. But so she just kind of like looked around, and I was like, "Are you okay?" She was fine. But then the manager came over, and we got free cookies and free lollipops. And so it was just kind of a funny way to start our trip. Kyle at the Polite Pig was lovely, though, and his service team was lovely. But that was just kind of a funny little way to start our trip.
You just never know. You can plan and plan and plan,
Yes.
and then
Yeah.
the soda machine falls off.
It was wild. It was wild. Because there was nobody like fussing with it or anything. We were literally just standing there filling up our drinks, and the cover just completely fell and whacked her right in the head. So that was an adventure. But so then after all of that, we went and shopped around Disney Springs just a little bit. My oldest especially, was like kind of, her interest was piqued by pin trading this time around. So I had gotten a couple pins for her ahead of time, and I knew she wanted to get a lanyard. So we went into the pin trader store and let them both pick out a lanyard. And then my husband's favorite thing at Disney Springs is Gideon's. And so I knew this might be our only time there on this trip. So the line was only about 30 minutes. So he went ahead and hopped in line to get some cookies for our trip while the girls and I kind of just wandered around. And it moved pretty quickly. It was a 30-minute wait, which I feel like is not that bad. So he picked up cookies and some peanut butter cold brews for us to have the following morning, which was lovely. So yeah, we just kind of noodled around there for a little bit and headed back. We were staying this night at the Holiday Inn at Disney Springs. So we got there and checked in. We were staying on points. My husband has IHG for work. So we stayed there. They gave us a bunch of drink coupons when we checked in, which was really nice. And we ended up just taking them to go with us. Like, they didn't pop the tops on anything. So we just kept them in our fridge and took them with us when we left because it was getting late at that point. The pool looked nice. We didn't go in the pool. We really only saw the inside of our room, but it was fine for what we were doing there. And it was close and easy, and there was no problems. We did actually end up with a fireworks view room. So that was kind of fun. The girls were well asleep by the time they were popping off, but it was nice to kind of see them in the distance that night to start our trip. So, and then while we were laying in bed that night, we were talking about what we were going to do the next day. We were planning to go to Blizzard Beach and knew we were going to have some time in the morning. There wasn't really anything to do at the hotel. We didn't want to like mess with getting in the pool first thing. So we decided to grab a breakfast reservation for Cape May Cafe the following morning. So we went ahead and grabbed that for 8:40. And that was pretty much the end of the first night. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So the next day was Friday, June 5th, and you were transferring to a Disney World resort, but you've got lots of other things going on.
Yes. So we woke up, repacked, kind of drank our peanut butter cold brews from the night before, which were a great way to start the day. We left our hotel about 10 to 8 and got to the beach club at 8:05. I will say they were very particular about reservation checking when we came in, which I kind of saw as a theme throughout this trip. The last time we were there, I didn't really remember them asking for our name and asking for our ID and wanted to see the specific reservations and all of that. When we were going in and out of the resorts for this one, especially, they asked for that, which was fine. We obviously had a reservation, but so we got to the beach club and parked around 8:05. Our reservation wasn't until 8:40, so we were just going to kind of wander around. I'd never been to the beach club before and wanted to just kind of scope it out. We checked in with the hostess by the time we walked from the parking lot in around 8:15, and they sat us pretty much immediately. It wasn't very crowded for a Friday morning, I guess. So they sat us pretty much right away. Our server, Larry, he was awesome. We gave him a cast compliment. He was the photo taker extraordinaire, I have to say. He was very watchful for any time the characters came over to our table. He was right there demanding that my husband and I get in the picture, taking shots. He had angles. He was up high. Like he was just, it was great. So his energy was wonderful. I loved seeing the characters in their beach gear. I thought that was super cute. That's not, you don't get to see that very often. And we'd never eaten there before. The food was fine. It's your typical, Mickey waffles, which my girls enjoy. They do have grits, which my two Southern North Carolina girls live on grits. And so that was fun to find for them. They had crepes, which were kind of a fun and something different. So the food was fine. So we enjoyed that as our kind of launch. And it worked out perfectly. We left there around 9:30 and drove straight to Blizzard Beach. We parked, we walked right in. They were letting people in already. The park technically opened at 10, I think, but we walked right in.
And is your luggage just in your car this whole time?
Yeah. Okay. Yep. And so when we had packed, we only took one bag in with us to the Holiday Inn. I had tried to pack strategically. So I had like bathing suits and pajamas in the one bag that I knew we were going to need for Friday. So I didn't have to schlep them both in. We had only checked two bags since we were flying a budget airline. We didn't do carry-ons. All of us had a backpack, and then we had two bags, large bags that we had checked. So we did leave those in the car, but we had pulled out the things that we knew we were going to need for Blizzard Beach.
Okay.
Yep. So there are rope drop spots in Blizzard Beach with actual ropes where people were lining up. So we were held at the rope at Tykes Peak. That's where we were headed. And they do their little first guy down the slide there. That's like their thing, I guess. I didn't realize that. But we had a pretty good viewpoint of him standing at the rope at Tykes Peak to watch him go down the slide the first time at 10 o'clock. So that was cute. So we went in. We had no trouble finding chairs in the shade, I will say. Getting there right in the morning, that's definitely the benefit. You can really scope out the space that you need. My husband and I were a little wigged out because we put our stuff down and looked over, and there was a nice black snake just slithering in the garden right there. And so we were like, do we need to move? My husband actually kind of grabbed a cast member who was walking by and said, do you guys do something about this? And they actually said, no, there's about 6 of them, they said, who are like around, and they said they keep the mice and the bugs under control. So we let them stay.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, oh wow, okay. So anyway, that was an adventure, but it was fine. So we got our chairs, which was great. We wanted to do the family slide first. I think it's called Teamwork Springs or something like that, the big raft that seats 6 people. So we walked over to take the chairlift. And of course, we got in line, and my youngest said she had to go to the bathroom. So we got out of line for that. And as we were walking back, I asked a cast member, because it's not really clear on the one sign. It says you can take the chairlift up to the top for the whatever that really big slide, Crushing Gusher, or whatever that really big slide is. So I asked a cast member, I said, can we take this chairlift up to Teamwork Springs to the other side? And he told us no, that we had to take the stairs. And so we got out of line. And when I tell you, it's a lot of stairs to get to the top of that mountain. And I got up there. you can totally take the chairlift up to the top of that hill to get on any of those slides. So do not make the same mistake. We were gassed by the time we got up to the top.
Why would he tell you no?
I don't know. I said, can we take the chairlift up to Teamwork Springs? And he said, no, that's over there by the obstacle course. There's the stairs right there. So I don't know if he misheard what I said, but my children and my husband were none too pleased with me when we realized that we could have taken the chairlift. But anyway, all that to say, we did Teamwork Springs. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a great family big slide. So that was fun. Then we went and we got in the lazy river, which was nice and calm. I thought my daughter she was intrigued by the people whose jobs it was to stand throughout the lazy river and catch the bugs and the leaves in their nets. She thought that was like, what a great job to just get to stand there and clean up the leaves in the lazy river, which that's such a Disney thing. I feel like they really try to keep it clean and make you want to be in that lazy river. So we enjoyed that. Then my husband took my youngest over to Tykes Peak. She loves Frozen. And so she had seen all the, the little slides and the Elsas and the Olafs, whatever. She went to do that. So my oldest and I went over and we did the running rapids, which were some of the other single person tube slides. She really enjoyed the obstacle course that you can do where you walk on the icebergs with the ropes and such over there in that area of the park. So we did that for a little bit while they played in the Tykes Peak area. So then it was probably around lunchtime and we were getting hungry. So I went ahead and mobile ordered from Lottawada Lodge. This is the move. If you are going to the water park, mobile order your food. It was like a 20-minute wait on mobile order, but I heard someone standing in the regular line and they had told them it was going to be over an hour to get their food. So
why are they not mobile ordering?
I don't know. There was and there were a lot of groups this day. We noticed like a lot of kids soccer teams, like preteen boys in matching shorts who were clearly like part of a team that were together. They sounded like they were international travelers. So I don't know, you just come to the water park and expect to wait in one of the 3 lines that they have open for all the, 600 million people who are there that day or whatever. But so we got our food in about 20 minutes, which was perfect. We got a kid's chicken bowl, chicken tenders. My daughter enjoyed the turkey sandwich. So we just ate that on our little lounge chairs over in Tykes Peak. And at this point, you could not find a chair anywhere. It was bumping. People were, starting to come in at that time and you could see them just like wandering around with all their stuff, trying to find places to sit. I will say Blizzard Beach seemed to have a lot of really random places for chairs. If you kind of wandered back like behind where all the slides drop off, there are like nooks and crannies back there where there are tons of chairs, but you're not close to anything. There was nobody sitting over there, but you're very far away from everything. So you really are going to have to look probably for chairs if you're coming in after 11 o'clock, especially in the summer, I think. But so we ate our lunch there at that point, and then we went and did the wave pool. My daughter did the zip line a couple times. She really liked that. We did, like I said, we did the wave pool, which was a fun way to end. And then as we were leaving, so we loaded up all our stuff, we were heading out. We saw Goofy coming out in his beach gear. He was coming right out from behind, in between like the big shop and the Lottawada Lodge, and he had a little PhotoPass and a PhotoPass photographer. So we literally walked right up to him, got a picture with him in his beach gear. That was our first PhotoPass opportunity of the trip. So that was really cute in his beach attire. That was fun.
Cute.
Yeah. So we got out to our rental car, and this was our second little hiccup of the trip. I had done the car locator, but the rental car was new to us. We weren't sure, couldn't remember exactly what we were looking for, where we had parked it, whatever. So my husband was using the beeper, and I think he just like wigged out the car and like over beeped it because we finally found it, and then we couldn't get into the rental car because the power locks, they stopped working. So fortunately, the button for the trunk worked. So we sent my oldest in through the trunk to open the doors for us so that we could get in. But even when we got inside, the power lock buttons inside the car were not working. The car would turn on, but we couldn't lock or unlock the doors. So I was like, oh, this is going to be a disaster because we're 45 minutes from the Sanford airport. Like we have plans. We had planned to have this car, whatever. So I said, okay, you know what? Let's just get to Port Orleans. We'll deal with it when we get there. If it's drivable, like we just need to get it somewhere, not in the Blizzard Beach parking lot, and we'll figure it out from there. So we did that. So we got to Port Orleans Riverside. That's where we were staying for the majority of our trip, around 2:45. I didn't get an alert that the room was ready, but I had my husband kind of drop me off, and they went and parked in the parking lot, and I walked in. And as I was standing in line in the lobby, there I could see in the app that our room was ready. So I turned around.
I know, but this goes into that theory that if you're nearby, that it makes it more likely that your room's going to be ready.
Geofenced or something. So I don't know. But yes, so they had given us a room. We were in Alligator Bayou, building 28. Room 2817 was the room we were in. So we had put in a request to be on the first floor because we had the double stroller and I didn't want to deal with the stairs with that at night. And so 28 was really right across from, there was a quiet pool with laundry right across from it. It was a pretty easy walk over the bridge to Old Man Island, the pool, and then right over the bridge again to the lobby, and very close to the parking lot, which for us was really convenient. And it really wasn't a bad walk to the West Depot bus stop either. So if you're looking for a standard room that is still relatively close to things, I would say building 28 was a good one.
It is very close to the preferred rooms. Like 27 is preferred.
Yes. Yep. So that was a great location for us.
And with a car, I feel like you were in a pretty good spot.
Yeah.
Because you could park kind of close.
Yeah, we were very close. It was a pretty short walk from the car to our room in the evenings, which was really helpful. So 2817, that was our room. So then we kind of got everything unloaded and we were planning to go back to Disney Springs again that night. So we headed over towards the lobby. And as we got there, Mickey and Minnie and Donald were in the lobby for Cool Kids Summer. I really enjoyed this because they're in their traditional outfits, which I feel like you don't see, especially Mickey and Minnie in their standard outfits very often. But that's what they had on for this little visit. So that was great. I will say, temper your expectations when it comes to these resort visits if you have kids, because the cast members will tell you, we're not forming a line, we're just, visiting. So a lot of them, they'll stop and they'll take pictures or they'll sign your whatever, but it is kind of like a cluster of kids and parents. Get over here, take your picture. It's a little bit chaotic. So I hate that that's the way that they do it, even though I love that they bring the characters to the resort. So that's a double-edged sword, I think. But that was really fun to see them and get some pictures with them there. So we did that. My girls also loved that for Cool Kids Summer, because Port Orleans, I guess, is one of the participating resorts, they have children's-sized shopping carts in their hotel gift shops, which my girls thought was just the best thing ever.
It's very cute.
Yes. So they went around and filled up shopping carts. And I said, you have to put all of that back, right? So that was part of the fun too, was going around and putting it all back after they filled it up. But we killed a little time in there and kind of wandered around. So that was fun. We then took the boat to Disney Springs. It took about 20 minutes. I would say it wasn't bad. We ate at Earl of Sandwich for dinner just because it was the first thing that we walked by when we got off the boat. And it was amenable to everyone's choices. We were specifically going to Disney Springs that night because we had reservations to do the make your own Lego store minifigures. Those were $12 per figure. So when I made the reservation online, it was hard to tell if you had to have one per person or how that worked. So I ended up making a 5:30 reservation and a 6 o'clock reservation in case I had to have one for both kids. I did not. That was not necessary. We all just went in right at 5:30. And then even when we got to the back counter, they said, how many figures do you want to make? You could make as many as you wanted on that one reservation. So you really only need one time slot. So just keep that in mind. The girls enjoyed that. We're kind of just getting into Legos in our house, getting into that age. So that was fun to get to play around on the screen and make what they wanted to make. So we did that. And then we wandered back to the PhotoPass Studio. I'd heard so many people talk about that. So we got a kick out of that. The girls took some pictures and then we took a few family pictures, which turned out really cute. So we enjoyed that.
My favorite part is that you just make expressions and you're like, I have no idea what I'm reacting to.
Look scared or put your hands in the air or point over there. Yeah, it was funny. So that was fun to then look later on and see what was in the magic shot. So we got a kick out of that. We wandered through World of Disney at that point also, and then we were headed back to the boat. It was around 6:30, I would say, lined up. The line for the boat was pretty long at this point. I would say there was a boat that was there and was already full and getting ready to leave. And then another boat pulled in. I would say we waited probably 15 or 20 minutes, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when you've got 2 kids and it's, pushing bedtime and you've been out all day or whatever, it was kind of long. So we were back to Port Orleans. I would say that whole thing probably took about an hour because by the time you stop, our boat for some reason also stopped at French Quarter, even though it had a Port Orleans flag on it. I don't really know how they figured that out. But so we got back around 7:30. We had Bell Services deliver. We had done just a small grocery order from Target. And so they brought that and delivered it. They were really quick with that. So that was nice. Justin went and checked on the car. And by that point, I think it had reset itself and all the buttons were back in working order. So I said, you know what? Great. We had some little pixie dust or something on our car so that we did not, because when we got back the first time, they said, you're going to have to bring it back to the airport or you can go. Here's the location of the closest battery store. Go get a new battery for the key fob. Save your receipt. We'll reimburse you when you bring it. And we were just like, are you kidding? I'm not doing all that. So anyway, that all got
But also, you said the locks weren't working inside the car.
Right.
So that's what makes me think it was more than just a battery.
Right.
But on this day, did you also get your stroller?
Did we get our stroller this day? Did I write that down? Yes. No.
Your double stroller rental at 4:00 from Orlando Stroller Rentals?
So yes, that was why we had gone over to the lobby around 3:30 when we met Mickey and Minnie.
Oh, when the characters appeared.
When the characters that were there. So yes, we did get our stroller also in that time frame. So that was great. And they had sent me a text earlier in the day, probably while we were at Blizzard Beach, saying, what time are you going to be there? Mm-hmm. And I had said, we'll probably be in the lobby between 3:30 and 4. And she was there. They were very communicative. She said, I'm doing a drop off at Saratoga and then I'll be there, whatever. So yes, that was easy to coordinate. So no problems there. We did also then have another issue with our TV in our room. So we got back that night and could not get the TV turned on, which for my children who love, part of the fun of vacation is cartoons and TV in bed or whatever. So they were great and sent somebody out. He pulled the whole fold down bed out from the wall and was doing something back there, but they got it fixed and turned back on. So they were just a couple of those little things, but everything was able to be remedied. So nothing really major, but I just made a couple of notes of some of those things that we encountered. And on this day, we had 17,435 steps all around Blizzard Beach and Disney Springs. So it was a busy first day, but it was great.
Don't even have to go into one of the main parks to rack up the steps.
Yep.
All right. The next day was Saturday, June 6th, and you had a bunch of different things planned starting at the Four Seasons.
Yes. So we left our hotel around 7:45 again and drove to the Four Seasons. So we checked in for our breakfast reservation around 8:15, and it was wonderful. The food was phenomenal. Mm-hmm. The characters were great. The attendants were great. We saw Minnie, Mickey, and Goofy in their golf and tennis attire, I guess you would call it.
Yeah, resort wear.
Yeah, it was super cute. My daughter's favorite color is orange, so she was just tickled by the fact that Mickey and Minnie had orange sweaters that they were wearing. And I guess the breakfast is called Goofy and Friends, and so Goofy actually has a PhotoPass photographer that travels with him. You can obviously take your own pictures with Mickey and Minnie when they come around, but Goofy has an actual PhotoPass photographer that travels with him, which was really nice to get those family pictures. But yeah, this is definitely an elevated Disney buffet option. We were thrilled with the food quality, the beverage offerings, and all of that. Even just it's not quite as loud. They do have a little song and dance that they do, but it's not quite as just in your face, loud music, bright lights. It was just a calmer start to our day. So I'm so glad you went and that it was a good experience, because I feel like this isn't one we hear about enough, but it's also not available very often. But yes, it's only I think Thursdays and Saturdays, and then a couple of random Tuesdays throughout the year. So we really had to be strategic because I knew I wanted to give it a try, but it was worth it.
I also like it from a perspective I am not willing to pay to stay at the Four Seasons, but it's sort of fun to just walk through.
Yes, it's beautiful there. We were, my husband and I were joking about that. This is how, other people vacation. We could stay here one night for the cost of our entire stay somewhere else. And I'm happy for them. But it was beautiful. And we really enjoyed that breakfast. And I will say, cost-wise, it really wasn't that much more expensive than what we paid for our character breakfast at Cape May. I mean, it was more expensive, but in my opinion, for the quality of food that you got, it was worth the cost.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's if you can get there, I think it's worth checking out. It was a fun
Having
trip.
a rental car helps, but
Yes.
also rideshare works or whatever.
Yes. Yeah. So that was great. We enjoyed that. So we were there for probably an hour 15 or so. We saw everybody, ate all the things, and then we were going to Hollywood Studios that day. So we again drove and parked. We tapped into Hollywood Studios around 9:40, I would say. So not too bad of a trip to get there and parked and in the door. We went straight to the Disney, we're Disney Visa card holders. So we went to the photo spot and met Stitch in his Hawaiian luau gear, which was really cute. We enjoyed that. We went over to do the Little Mermaid show at that point. Also, we just did that standby at 10:35 and walked right in. We had no issues waiting there. That was a highlight for my youngest. She loved that show. The bubbles and the colors, and they're both just, we have MagicBand pluses and love that your watch like lights up and flashes and,
Mhm.
does all the things in tune with the show. So that was really
So the
cute.
kids have them too.
Yes. Yeah.
So
We all
they're
have them. Yep.
Mhm.
Yep. So that was fun. So that kind of dumps you out right there at Animation Courtyard. And so we were getting ready to go across Animation Courtyard. We had a lightning lane for the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse show at 10:55, but we had a few minutes kind of in between. So we just wandered around. There are so many characters just bopping around out there. It was so wild. It was amazing. They're just out there.
Yes.
Again, it's kind of if you're coming from a traditional, like, I want to get in line and I want to take a picture with this character
Mhm.
and I want them to sign my book and etc. I can see where that's a little bit jarring because that's not what you're getting here, but they will stop and they will take pictures with you. You just kind of have to catch them in the right moment or in the right part of their path that they're taking at that time. But that little area is so cute. We saw Rapunzel sitting on the grass and just talking with kids who were sitting out there. Pluto was out for a while. We saw Mulan, we saw Stitch. So there were just always characters out there, which was super cute. Oh, Chip and Dale, when we came out, they were like having a dance party. They had music on and like some people playing music for them. So it was super cute. So we enjoyed that. And we kind of cut across there to get in line for the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse show. So we tapped in at 10:55. The show was at 11:15. So that was our first lightning lane of the day. I booked them that way, not knowing how long it was going to take us to get there, what time we would be getting there for
Mhm.
after breakfast. So we had that one pre-booked. So that was the first one. The show was about 15 minutes. It was really cute. We had done, when we went a couple of years ago before my youngest was born, the Disney Junior play and dance that they had. So this one is definitely, it's all, the Fab Five characters. It's definitely Mickey Mouse Clubhouse as opposed to Disney Junior now, but I thought it was really well done. My girls really enjoyed it, even my 8-year-old. So they liked the dancing, the bubbles, the confetti cannon at the end. So it was really cute. My husband was thrilled that we had a lightning lane because he got in first. And so he got to sit on the benches in the back while I sat on the
That is
floor in the
nice.
front row.
That is nice.
But it was,
Because this was your first lightning lane, did you have Standby Skipper set up then to start search for your next one?
so we did. I'll talk Standby Skipper. We purchased it for the week and I had things set up. We had that booked. We had Toy Story Mania and Slinky for later in the afternoon that I had done as our pre-bookings. So I purchased Standby Skipper. I should know better by now. I'm too much of a control. I like to be in control of what's happening. So we really didn't utilize it to its full effect, I feel like. So I had it looking for things I knew I wanted to do Mickey and Minnie's, but I ended up just kind of booking them on my own for the times as I saw them pop up. So yes, we did have that starting to look for things, but we ended up really not utilizing it probably to its full potential on this trip. But after the Mickey Mouse show, we walked over to, I think it's called Commissary Lane, kind
Mhm.
of back there. And my girls wanted to meet Sophia, who is meeting back there. She just has a new run of her TV show out recently that has really piqued their interest again. So we got in line to meet her. As we were getting there, Bitsy, the super kitty, who also meets there, was finishing up. So the cast member said, "You can get in line now, but Bitsy is leaving. If you're getting in line now, you're getting in line to meet Sophia," which was fine for us. So we got in line at 11:45 and Sophia came out right at 12. But my girls also wanted to meet Bitsy. So we met Sophia at 12. I immediately got back in line once they said, okay, now the line is forming for Bitsy. It's kind of this like never-ending churn
It's so
for the two of
frustrating.
them. It's kind of bizarre because I could see my girls when we walked up, they were like, oh, we want to meet Bitsy. And they were like, no, this is Sophia. So then we met Sophia. Like, it was just kind of a thing, but it was fine. So we got back in line. I got back in line while my husband took the girls right across the way to ABC Commissary and grabbed something to eat. So that worked out perfectly. They sat down in the air conditioning for a little bit while I stood and baked in the sun on that back area of ABC Commissary. But no, it was fine. So Bitsy came out. So Sophia met at 12, and I think she met for probably 20 minutes and then left. And then Bitsy came out at 12:30. So we were the first people in line to meet Bitsy when she came back out. So all in, it probably took us 45 minutes to meet both of them between standing in line and in and out, whatever. So then we walked back into ABC Commissary for a few minutes and just kind of cooled off and regrouped and talked about what we wanted to do next. So we were walking towards the Frozen show at that point. So we kind of backtracked and went back the way we came from. And as we were walking by around 1:00, the meet for Olaf was a 5-minute wait. I don't know if he had just come off a break or if it was just a slow time. So we hopped in line to do that. We met him pretty right away. So that was great. And then we walked through one of the little shops because we were trying to hold out for the 1:30 Frozen show. So we were in and out of Olaf pretty quick. And then we wandered in a couple of those shops right there. We did a photo pass in front of the theater right there for a few minutes, got a couple of really cute shots, and then did the 1:30 Frozen show. That ended, and we were headed towards Galaxy's Edge because my husband and my oldest had a single pass for Rise of the Resistance. And we're not huge Star Wars people, but my husband was like kind of interested to see it. And I had actually never been back there. And so it was really neat, even for people who are not big Star Wars people or have no context for what most of it is. It was very impressive, all of the theming and everything. One of the things, I mean, it was hard to figure out where I was though, because nothing is labeled in English. It's written in whatever language it is that they speak on whatever planet they are from in Star Wars. So that was kind of a jarring thing to really not have any idea where I was going or what I was looking for. So
the app comes in handy when you're navigating it because the signs are not going to tell you where you're at.
No. I couldn't even figure out what was a bathroom, what was a restaurant. I said, let me walk through this doorway and see what's on the other side. Like it could be a shop, it could be a restaurant, it could be a bathroom. So we kind of walked around back there. My husband got a blue milk, which we enjoyed. I don't know what I was expecting, but it was not what I got. It was kind of like a cross between a milkshake and a blue raspberry slushie. Like
it's more of a slushie.
But it was kind of creamy. So it was fine for a hot day. I thought it was fine. So we enjoyed that. They had a 2:40 Lightning Lane single pass for Rise. So they wandered off to do that. And Hattie, perfectly timed, took a stroller nap. So I went and got a Ronto wrap and again was trying to figure out where I could go that maybe had a little bit of air conditioning where I could sit down, and stumbled my way into Docking Bay 7 and found a place to sit and eat my Ronto wrap and just kind of catch up on things and take a look at what we had upcoming. I played around with our lightning lanes at that point for the rest of the day. So they did that. They loved it. I have never done that ride, so I couldn't really give them a heads up. Neither of them obviously had ever done it either. And so there were a couple things I think that caught them a little bit off guard, but they both really enjoyed it and said it was a phenomenal ride. So they enjoyed that. So we moseyed our way out of there. We took the back pathway. Our last couple of things were going to be in Toy Story Land, so we took kind of the back exit that connects those two lands and wandered back that way. So Justin, at this point in time was when we didn't end up using Rider Switch a lot, mainly because Hattie, while she's tall enough to do a lot of those rides, she has no interest in them. So when I booked all of our lightning lanes, I booked them for all four of us. And so what we mostly ended up doing was one parent and Eleanor, my oldest, would go and ride. They'd get off. And the other parent and Eleanor with Hattie's MagicBand would go and ride it again back to back. So I told her, I said, you're getting spoiled by this because eventually there's going to come a time when Hattie wants to ride these rides and you're only going to get to ride them once. But on this trip, she really got to to double dose on a lot of the big rides. So I was happy for her about that. But so Justin and Eleanor went and scanned in for Slinky, which we had booked ahead of time. So after they did that, I was watching for their second tap in because I knew Hattie would enjoy Alien Swirling Saucers. And so I ended up booking, I was able to get a pretty quick return time for Aliens on those two bands since they had tapped in already. So we did that. I booked that for them. So they got off, and then Eleanor and I got back on Slinky, and Justin and Hattie went and rode Aliens on the two bands that had those lightning lanes kind of scanned in. So that was good. Justin and Hattie got in line for Aliens, and then one of the, it's got like two, I don't even sections. One of them went down while they were standing in line. Luckily they were like pretty close to the front at that point, so it didn't take them too much longer. But in the meantime, Eleanor and I rode Slinky again. We got off. We had time to go over to Woody's Lunchbox. I was so excited to see the key lime Pop-Tart. I love key lime, so I grabbed myself one of those, and we kind of just like stood at a table under the nice new umbrellas they have over there where there's some shade, and enjoyed that. So we did that. So Hattie and Justin got off of Aliens. We had our lightning lane for Toy Story Mania at that time around 4:20, and we got there and they said, just a heads up, it's going to be about a 35-minute wait in the lightning lane because 2/3 of the ride vehicles were down. I'm not sure what was happening. The standby line was like 80 minutes or something crazy, and I appreciated that they told us that it was going to be a long wait. We decided to get in line anyway because we knew we probably weren't coming, or we knew we weren't coming back to Hollywood Studios. It's Eleanor's one of her favorite rides, and we knew all of us were going to be able to ride it, and that wasn't going to be a theme for many rides on this trip to be able to do stuff like that together. So we decided to wait it out. It was probably about 25 minutes. So all in all, not the worst thing, but it was definitely, you could tell people were getting antsy, but it was fine. And the ride was great as always. So at that point, I had somewhere in there, I think once I scanned in for Toy Story Mania, I was able, in that 25 minutes, I was able to get us a lightning lane for Mickey and Minnie's, which I knew I really wanted to do on the way out. That was going to be the last thing that we did. So again, I didn't have any trouble getting that one. The return times were pretty quick. It really didn't feel super crowded this day. And again, to your point, like the weather was pretty decent. It was warm, especially in Toy Story Land where there's just no shade and it's just straight concrete. And it was the hottest part of the day at 4:00 when we were back there. But otherwise, the weather was really not bad. So we scanned in for Mickey and Minnie's at 5:20 and we were off at 5:35. So that was the last thing that we did. And then we decided to head out. We were, again, driving. Luckily, we got to the car and I was like, please unlock, please let these doors open. So we didn't have any more issues with that on this trip, which was great. So we were back to our resort probably around 6:15. I pulled up the app as we were driving home because I knew everybody was going to be getting hungry to see how long the wait was going to be and how far out I could schedule a mobile order from our food court. It was 6:15 and the earliest return time was 7:30. Wow. So yeah, the Port Orleans Riverside food court needs something. They need
it's always busy.
Yeah, it was crazy. So I was glad that I had done that because then, by the time we got back, we parked, we told the girls that we could go and swim for a little bit. So everybody got dressed. We went over to Old Man's Island and let them swim. And I walked over and I just put in my notes, like picked up the mobile order. Yikes. Like it was crazy in there, the lines for everything. They couldn't get food out fast enough for people. So anyway, that was kind of a mess, but we had known the trick to mobile order. So our food was ready pretty quickly, which was great. So they swam and then we took our food back to the room after that and headed back to wrap things up. I made a note that I also picked up, I had done another grocery delivery, I think for a couple of things that I had decided my girls had already eaten through, like a lot of the little snacks that I had ordered to pack to take with us to the parks and bubble solution because we brought bubble wands from home. So I picked that up in the lobby at Bell Services while I was waiting for the mobile order. So that day we had 16,158 steps. So that was a full day, but we did everything that we wanted to do in Hollywood Studios and it all timed out perfectly. So it was great.
Okay, so that was a nice day, it sounds like. And the next day was Sunday, June 7th, and it was your planned EPCOT time.
Yes. So we did stick with that plan. So we left the resort at 7:30. It was about an 8-minute drive to Epcot. I made a note of that. It was a really quick drive around. We had a pretty nice parking spot pretty close to the front. So our plan for this day, which I was crossing all of my fingers that Frozen was not going to be down during early entry, because that was really going to throw our day off if it was, especially because my youngest is Frozen obsessed. And that was the one thing that I knew we really wanted to do on this day. So we parked and we were in line for rope drop at 7:40, and they dropped the rope at 7:55. So we were kind of booking it over to Norway. The majority of people were peeling off at Guardians and going towards Test Track. So it really is a little bit of a lighter crowd going out towards the countries, especially coming from the front. So, you get the people coming in from the International Gateway who we kind of merged with. But so we walked to Norway. We were in line at 8:11, I made a note of. And I would say we were probably 25 back in line. We were pretty close to the front. So we waited just for a little bit and it was no big deal. They opened the doors at 8:25. Early entry was supposed to be 8:30 and park opened at 9. So they opened the doors at 8:25. We were off at 8:35 and we got straight back in line to do it again.
Nice.
So that was great. And it was by the time we got off the ride, it said posted 25 minutes. There was no way. It was 25 minutes. So we did it twice, all before 8:55. So that was great. We got 2 rides in on that ride and it was up. And then I said, you can close down for the rest of the day if you want to. We have done what we need to do here. So we did that. So then we wandered through the little bakery there. We got a school bread and a lefse. I don't know how you say that, like the rolled up little pancake thing. And we got in line at 9:05 to meet Anna and Elsa. And again, we were about 30 people back. They were supposed to start meeting at 9:15. The doors opened right at 9:15. This was like one of the longest waits that we had of the whole trip, I would say, was waiting for them. Even getting in line like so early, it just, I don't know, it takes forever. Which is sweet because they take their time and they really talk to the kids and it's very nice, but the waiting is hard and there's really not that much to look at in that little house queue. So we did that. We waited about 30 minutes. And at one point when I pulled up the app, this was the highest wait in the park. At one point, the wait was 75 minutes to meet Anna and Elsa, and the wait for Guardians was 70 minutes, which I just thought was like bananas. So we also noticed while we were online to meet Anna and Elsa as we got towards the front that Eleanor had already lost her MagicBand at some point in the time. We knew she had it. I could see it in our ride photo from Frozen. So I knew she had it there somewhere in between getting off of Frozen and getting in line for Anna and Elsa. So we kind of walked back out while we were still waiting in line. People were very kind. I said, I'm sorry, we're looking for a lost MagicBand. Everyone was kind of looking around them. That was really sweet. We walked out to where we had kind of been standing. It wasn't there. So we kind of walked over to where our stroller had parked because we had stopped there at one point. It wasn't there. And I said, Elle, you know what? If it's lost, it's lost. We'll put in a lost item request. If we can't find it, we'll buy you another one. It's not the end of the world. She had these big alligator tears. Like I told you, they thought they're like really fun at this age. So she was feeling very sad about it. I said, don't worry about it. Like we'll get it worked out. So we did that, but we got to meet Anna and Elsa. So when we walked out of there, I said, let's just walk into the bakery and see if maybe you lost it in there. So we walked into the bakery and asked, and one of the guys was like, oh yeah, I just found a MagicBand and I took it next door to the Norway merch shop, whatever that little shop is called. So she had like this glimmer of hope and she ran out the door over there and they had it still at the merch shop in Norway. So it worked out perfectly. We were able to find that. So I was thankful that it was quickly retrieved. So yay about that. So we had booked Remy as our tier 1 lightning lane because I knew we wanted to do early entry for Frozen. So we kind of started walking at that point towards France. We bumped into Snow White, who was also just out visiting the gardens. And again, not forming lines, not doing any of that, but she took pictures with the girls. So that was really sweet. We made it up there to France. We tapped in at 10:18. The standby wait was only 25 minutes. I will say, overall, our waits were very low. The crowds were very manageable on this trip overall. So especially with lightning lanes, we did great with really not having to wait for much. So we tapped in for Remy at 10:18. We were on the ride at 10:22 and off at 10:28. So as someone who has ridden that ride once before and is kind of prone to motion sickness from 3D things. I appreciate the update to this ride. I think it's, it makes it a lot more accessible for a lot of people who the first time I rode it, I had to close my eyes for almost the entire ride. So it was fun to get to enjoy that. My whole family loved it. My husband even said, I enjoyed that more than I thought I was going to enjoy it. So that was a hit with our crew. So we enjoyed that. And our plan then was to go over to the Riviera to get breakfast from Primo Piatto. So we did that. We got on the Skyliner at 10:38. I mobile ordered again as we were on the Skyliner going over there, which was super easy. So we mobile ordered that. As we were on the Skyliner coming in, I tapped that we were here so that it was starting to it did reach that far. So I will say, if you're coming in from Epcot, you can get a pretty far reach to let them know that you're here. So they'll have it ready kind of for you when you get there. So that was great. We arrived at 10:50 and our food was ready at 10:55. Everyone enjoyed their breakfast. My girls had fruit and yogurt and Mickey waffles. I had the lemon blueberry ricotta pancakes, which was what I was dreaming of. So that was great. My husband had the breakfast pizza, which he enjoyed also. I had hoped to go run up to the coffee shop and get one of their almond cold brews, and that just didn't pan out with what we wanted to get back to Epcot and do. But that was okay. We still enjoyed our breakfast. The girls enjoyed the Skyliner ride, so that was great. So we got back on the Skyliner. We were back to Epcot by 11:45. So like an hour and 15 minutes. If you need a midday break and you're coming from Epcot and you find yourself by the Skyliner, I would highly recommend that as a little pit stop.
I mean, it's a ride too. I bet your kids thought of the Skyliner as just a ride.
Yes. Yeah. And so when we were there last time in the fall, we stayed at Art of Animation and used the Skyliner a good bit. And so that was something that my oldest especially was really hopeful to get to do. And I think this ended up being the only time that we rode it. So I was glad that we did get to squeeze that in for a little ride this time along. So we did that. We were back at Epcot at 11:45 and we went straight to Morocco to meet Jasmine. She is my oldest daughter's favorite princess. So we hopped in line to meet her right at the right time. I think she started meeting at like 11:55 or something like that. So that worked out well. We stopped in Japan as we continued our kind of tour around the countries. At this point, we were going to start working our way back towards the front of the park to do Nemo and some of the other things up there. So we stopped a couple of countries along the way. We stopped in Japan. My husband gives the wafer ice cream sandwich in Japan 5 stars. I guess that's something that he saw on social media before we left. And so he really enjoyed that. He said, just as a note, you do have to ask behind the counter for them, because he was looking in all the little refrigerators and freezers and couldn't find them. But they had them behind the counter. That was one of his favorite bites of the trip. So the wafer ice cream sandwich in Japan, and it was the most reasonably priced. I think he paid like $3.50 for it. So for a snack, that was great. I really wanted to get a caramel butter bar I wanted to get the pretzel bread pudding in Germany. So as we walked by, the line was so long and there was only one poor little sweet girl working the register. And so I was like, you know what, forget it. So I wandered in and got a caramel butter bar and some popcorn instead for us to munch on. So I still have that pretzel bread pudding on my list for the next time we go back since I didn't get it this time, but that was okay. So we kept walking around the countries. Justin and Eleanor stopped in to do the Grand Fiesta boat tour in Mexico while Hattie took a little quick stroller nap. So that was great. And then we headed towards the Cool Kids Summer Room Goofies thing that they had going on in Connections.
Communicore Hall?
Communicore Hall, yes, that. So that was super cute. They had like hula hoops and beach balls and games out, and then music, and there's cast members out there dancing and leading, the cha-cha slide or whatever. They have these big building blocks that you can play with, and just there's chairs and there's air conditioning, and it's a nice place to take a break. And as we were in there, Goofy, he was like the character of this trip for us. I feel like we saw him around every turn, everywhere we went, we saw Goofy. And Max came out, which was really neat. My husband was wearing a Powerline Max t-shirt.
Cute.
So that was really a cool one to see. So my girls enjoyed that. And I would just say, for parents, like, yes, you paid a lot of money to come to Disney World and you're like, you really want to spend your time hula hooping. We have hula hoops at home, but they loved it. And that was like a standout memory for them. So I would just lean into those things. It doesn't matter if it's not the biggest ride or the fastest thrill or whatever, your kids are going to remember little things like that.
It's also in the air conditioning and Disney is entertaining your kids. You don't have to for a few
Right.
minutes.
Right. Yes. Yeah. So don't sleep on those kinds of things, I will say, if you've got young kids. So we did that. So we had a lightning lane for Nemo. We tapped in at 120. This was kind of a weird situation because people were coming out of the lightning lane saying that the line was really long and that the ride was closed. But the cast members at the front were like, the ride's not closed. They haven't told us anything. There's nothing going on. But the lightning lane line was out the door. Like, it was very
For
active.
Nemo?
Yes, yes. So we kind of were like, okay, do we wait? Do we not wait? What are we going to do? There was some confusion, but it was not. It was still about a 15-minute wait in the lightning lane. So I really don't know what was going on. We got on at 136. The ride was definitely having some issues. We stopped 3 or 4 times while we were on the ride. And then at one point they fully stopped the ride while we were on it. I thought we were going to have to walk off of it. It was not the best Nemo experience, but it was fine. We were all sitting down again in the dark and just, listening to the Big Blue World slung over and over again. So that was fine. So at that point, we had a lightning lane for Turtle Talk with Crush, which was the first time that we had done that. So we tapped in there at 152 and went in for the next show. And we sat right kind of in the front bench. My girls sat on the floor there, and my oldest was so excited because she got to talk to Crush. She just thought that was like the coolest thing in the world. She asked him how old he was and how old sea turtles can be. So we all really enjoyed that little sequence. It was really cute and well done. We've never done that before, but it was sweet. So we did that, and we were out of there around 2:15 probably. We walked over to the Moana Journey of Water. We had Guardians single passes for 3:00. So at this time, we were just kind of killing time in that area. So we wandered through the Moana thing. My girls played in there. I did pack them a change of clothes if they wanted to, fully soak themselves. They got a little wet, but it wasn't crazy. We didn't stand in the middle of the splash pad or underneath the water fountains, but they enjoyed that and making the water go up and down and playing the music and all of that. So that's really cute and well done. We enjoyed that. So then at that point, we walked over to Guardians for 3:00. So I had taken Justin's MagicBand because this was one that I was going to set up rider swap for because we didn't buy, I knew Hattie wasn't going to ride this. So I didn't buy her a single pass. So I was hoping to do rider swap. So I walked over, I had taken Justin's MagicBand with me. I had myself and Eleanor, and I asked them at the gate, and they said, no, in order to set up rider swap, the kid and the person had to be there. The person who was not riding had to be present. And I was like, okay, well, whatever. They were at that point content. They had gone and they were watching the Encanto show right in that breezeway, and they were happy to be there. I wasn't going to make them schlep all the way over. Justin said, I don't have to ride it. It's fine, or I can ride it by myself or whatever. So I just kind of said, whatever. So Eleanor and I tapped into that, and we got into the first room at 3:03. We tapped in at 2:55. Our lightning lane was at 3:00. We got into the first room at 3:03, and the pre-show was down. So they took us out the side door. And as someone who's I've ridden that ride before, I was perfectly happy for the pre-show to be down, to be honest. I don't really feel like it adds that much to it. And I was just, if we could move through it a little bit faster. So we did. So we were off that at 3:14. We got Disco Inferno. This was Eleanor's first time. This trip, when we went in the fall, she wasn't really excited about some of the bigger roller coasters. So she tried all of them on this trip. She loved Guardians. She thought it was awesome. She was desperate to ride it again. So I said, you know what, let's just walk over to the Blue Umbrella and see and let them know what happened with the rider swap and see if they can, help us out. And they were so kind. They did help us set it up after the fact so Eleanor could ride again with Justin. So they went off and did there. And I told Eleanor, I said, you're getting spoiled. You're not going to get to ride all these rides.
Exactly.
Over and over again, probably the next time we come. So enjoy it while it lasts. But so they were so kind to help us set that up after the fact. It was no problem. And they got conga. So they enjoyed that. And again, the pre-show was still down, which I appreciate that they at least kept the ride open instead of closing it because the pre-show was down. Maybe if it was your first time and you were never going to get to come back, or you're a huge Guardians fan, that might be a disappointment. But I just feel like that ride takes so long from start to finish. All of the pre-shows and all of the rooms and the stampede of people from one side of the room to the other when the doors open. Like, this was a much calmer experience. So they were in line at 3:21 and off at 3:33. So that was a quick turnaround there. And that was the last thing that we did at EPCOT. So at this point, we were kind of towards the front of the park and where we had parked our car. So we headed out to the car. We were back to the hotel by 4:00. So again, a pretty quick turnaround there. We got there and we had towel service. So you don't get it on every day of your trip anymore. It's like every 3 days or every other day or something. So they had done some cute things with the towels. They had left Cool Kids Summer sunglasses for both the girls on our beds and set up their stuffies and things like that. So that was really cute. And this day we were planning to go over to French Quarter to eat at their food court and swim in their pool and do the slide and the splash pad there. So we drove over. I'm not sure. When we got to the gate, the guy said, "Do you have a reservation?" And Justin said, "We're staying at Port Orleans Riverside." And he said, "Okay, just make a U-turn. I'll open the gate for you to go back out." And I think, like, he obviously misunderstood what we were saying. So we just drove through the gate and kept driving towards the lobby. We had called to make sure that we could park at French Quarter, even though we weren't staying there. And whoever we talked to on the phone said it would be fine. So I didn't feel bad about that, but maybe there's something else that we should have done there to be able to drive over and park our car there.
I think they only care who's parking overnight, to be honest.
Yeah. So that was fine. So we drove in and parked, and I made a note that the food court there was so much less chaotic than Riverside. The food was pretty similar. I wouldn't say there was much difference in what they were serving, but I couldn't get over how small it was, how little seating there was in there compared to the one at Rivers. Like, it was just kind of night and day. So
it's also a very small resort, though.
Yes.
But you're right. Not a lot of tables.
No. So we swam until about 6:45, I would say. I wanted to grab beignets on the way out, but the line was so long. And again, I was just like, it's not worth it. I think with all the news that's been coming out about people going over there to get beignets and visit other places for quick service and stuff, I'm wondering if it's starting to impact the people who are actually staying there who want to eat beignets, whatever, because the line was like all the way back to almost to the food court. Like, it was crazy. So anyway, we enjoyed that, though. My girls loved the pool there. The splash pad there is so fun. If you've got young-ish kids, there's slides, there's sprayers, there's buckets, there's all sorts of things. So they liked that pool better than the one at Riverside. They thought it was more fun. So we enjoyed that.
It is very popular.
Yep.
And I think it's funny because I don't think of French Quarter in general as families with little ones. Like, I think it has sort of a quiet adult vibe, but the splash pad is a huge hit.
Yes. So they loved that. So we enjoyed that. This day, that was the end of our day. We headed back home and went to bed. We had 19,801 steps, trekking back and forth across EPCOT a couple times will do that to you, I think. So that was...
I'm struck by your park days feeling full, but they're like 6 hours, 8 hours, something like that. Like, they're not 12-hour days.
No, and I was saying to Justin, I can't think of anything that we really wanted to do that we didn't get done. And also, I felt like we still kept a very, not leisurely, but casual pace. We weren't running anywhere. Nobody was stressed out about timelines or anything. And I think part of it was the crowds were really low. The weather was really good. We had some good luck on our side for this stretch. So yeah, they were busy. We did all the things, but it wasn't overwhelmingly.
Yeah. I don't know if you've been looking at the weather since you've been back, but it's been heat. Some heat. I feel like it went extreme. Like, you had some mild weather and they've had the too hot weather, but
yes.
All right. So the next day was Monday, June 8th, and you had Magic Kingdom plans.
Yes. So I also made a note. I woke up to an email and an app alert on my phone that our Guardians Lightning Lanes had been refunded. And with a note that said, "Sorry, you couldn't use your Lightning Lane single pass. We're processing a refund." And they did. They refunded me all three of them, though all three of us rode the ride. The only thing I could think of is because the pre-show was down, they issued a refund.
I have never heard of this.
I hadn't either. And we booked through a travel advisor, and I asked her too, and she said, "I've never heard of that." Especially because you didn't go and we didn't go ask.
You didn't ask, right? Usually
our ride was, yeah.
refunds require a request.
Yeah. So I thought that was really interesting, but it was a happy surprise, I guess.
I wonder how many refunds they processed that
Yeah,
day.
I don't know. I don't know. So that was nice. I got that alert. I was just kind of like, oh, and I even went back to look and make sure, like, did we really tap in? Did I somehow miss that? But even still, I wouldn't think that they would refund it just because we didn't use it. Like, that would be on us, not on them. So
Right.
I don't
That's
know.
interesting.
Yeah, that was interesting. But anyway, so yes, I got that alert and I did see the refund. It was on my credit card statement. So it processed. We were going to Magic Kingdom this day. So this was the only time that we took the bus on our entire trip. So we took the bus from West Depot. I will say the times in the app were very spot on. They were very accurate. So the bus pulled up at 7:40 to the West Depot. We did stop at the others, and I felt bad. By the time you get to the main bus stop there's like no space for anybody else to get on. So I don't know. I did read somewhere that they send buses sometimes directly to the main depot to pick those people up because otherwise they would just never get on a bus.
Yep.
It would be full by the time the buses got through all the internal bus stops. So it worked out for us being the first bus stop. There, we got seats all the way towards the back end with our stroller. That was really nice to have a place to sit. So we did that. So at 7:53, I did time it. We had gotten through all the internal stops and we're on the road to Magic Kingdom. So definitely account for like 15 minutes if you are staying towards the West Depot. It will take you a little bit of time before you get on the road to Magic Kingdom. But we were at Magic Kingdom at 8:05 and we were through security and into the park by 8:15. We stopped for coffee at the Main Street Starbucks bakery right there and headed up towards Fantasyland. I will say this was another thing. I felt like they heavily advertised for Cool Kids Summer that there would be characters out during early entry, and there were. They were everywhere. Tigger, Winnie the Pooh, Alice, the Mad Hatter, Cinderella, Elena. Everywhere you turned, there was a character with an attendant just kind of wandering around. So that was really neat. I was glad to see, if you're going to advertise these things, but they were actually following through on that. So they were out and about, which was nice. We got on the carousel at 8:45. That was Hattie's request. I felt like she she was due for something, so we got on the carousel, and Chip and Dale were on the carousel while we were on the carousel, so that was fun. And then we got in line for our entire trip. Cinderella and Tiana were meeting together at Fairy Tale Hall, which I feel like and then it was two surprise visiting princesses on the other side. In the past, when we've gone, it's been Cinderella and a surprise and Tiana and a surprise. So
Yep.
that was kind of odd. I don't know if
It's super strange. Usually Tiana is with Rapunzel and Cinderella. Yeah, you're right. That's so strange.
So that was kind of weird. We got in line. They were supposed to open at 9. They told us they were going to be delayed and opening at 9:15 if we wanted to go get in line for the visiting princesses instead, who were going to be opening at 9. But Cinderella is Hattie's favorite princess. So we said, no, we'll just stick it out. So we did, and that was fine. We waited right at 9:15. They were ready to rock. So we got in and met Cinderella and Tiana. I still don't know who the visiting princesses were, but the world may never know. We had our first lightning lane for that day was Winnie the Pooh. So we scanned in at 9:30 for that. We were off at 9:40. This was the one time that we used Standby Skipper the whole trip. Tiana's is Eleanor's one of her favorite rides. And so I knew we wanted to ride that, but I wanted to use our tier 1 for Big Thunder. So I had seen and done some research that it was easier to get Tiana's kind of throughout the day, that they drop those multiple times throughout the day or whatever. So I left that one open. So Standby Skipper was able to get us a lightning lane for Tiana at 11:15 that day. So we did Pooh. We were off that by 9:40. We got Standby Skipper for Tiana's later. We got in line for Teacups standby at 9:47. We were off at 9:55. There was a 5-minute wait for Dumbo. So we did that. Eleanor and I did the Barnstormer. At this point, my girls were getting a little bit hungry, so we were going to stop at the Friar's Nook and just get tater tots. My girls are terrible, picky children eaters. They're not adventurous, so I knew they would eat tater tots, and so I was going to just get them plain tater tots, not the ones with anything on it. The picture there is misleading. I expected them to be the little boats, they were giant bowls. I got them each their own.
Oh my gosh.
And it was comical. Like, they both had these huge bowls of just plain tater tots that they were munching on as we were riding through Fantasyland. So be warned of that. Those pictures are misleading. there was a lot of tater tots. So at this point, we were walking towards Big Thunder for our next lightning lane, and we stopped because we came across the Adventure Cavalcade, which was super cute. So we got to see that. That was fun. We tapped in for Big Thunder Mountain. And again, this was one of those rides that Eleanor got to ride back to back because Hattie didn't want to ride. So we did that. I rode with her, and then my husband rode with her. We really enjoyed that. If I don't have memory of riding it before, like the last 2 times that I've been, it's been closed. I feel like it was closed forever. So maybe as a kid, but I don't remember it. But I thought it was very smooth. It's fun. It's a good length. We enjoyed it. So that was fun. And then at that point, we were over there very conveniently for our lightning lane for Tiana's. So in that right area. So we did that. We tapped in for Tiana's the first time at 11:12, and we were off at 11:32. And then the second pair of us were back on at 11:38. I forget how long that ride is. I started to get a little bit worried because we had a 12:30 reservation at Wailulu. And originally we were planning to go take the monorail over to the Poly. And as I'm standing there, as they're going to get back on Tiana's at 11:40, I'm like, there's no way that we're going to be back at the front of the park on the monorail all the way over to the Polynesian. So anyway, they're doing that. And I'm looking at minivans, trying to like scope that out. And so they got off the second time of Tiana's at 11:50, and we called a minivan at 11:55 as we were getting towards the front of the park. So that worked out perfectly. That was the first time I'd ever used a minivan, and I am ruined for all other forms of
I know, right? Because they dropped you off right at the tower.
Yes. Literally at the front door.
You would have walked away if you'd taken the monorail.
Yes. So that actually ended up working out perfectly. So we were in the van at 12:15. My girls thought this was like the best way to travel with the TV screens and the it was great. So we enjoyed that, and it was well worth the $35 that we paid for them to take us from Magic Kingdom to the Poly. So we were there at 12:27, so even 3 minutes early for our reservation, which was great. We loved this meal. The food was delicious.
Were you inside, outside?
We were inside. They didn't ask. I think we could have requested to sit outside. There were plenty of tables, but we were inside, which was nice. We took it was air conditioned. It was great. The food was great. And while we were there, Chip and Dale and Donald were out on the little patio out there. In between, there's like some chairs out there, like right out the main lobby gates. And so our server actually leaned over to me at one point and whispered, like, there's some friends out on the patio. She said, I didn't want to say it out loud in case you didn't want them to go out there, but we did go out there, and there was nobody else out there. It was just my girls. And so they got all the pictures. They did have a PhotoPass guy with them taking pictures and signing autographs and all that sort of thing. So that was super fun that we did get to see them. So yes, the food was delicious. We had the sticky ribs as an appetizer. That was really good. Justin had the tuna bowl. I had the Wayfinder burger. I'm not a big spice person, so I got that the spicy sauce on the side, which I'm glad I did because I think it would have been too spicy for me. But the burger itself was delicious. The girls, I thought was really neat. The kids' meals, like one of the choices of the 2 sides is a Dole Whip. So you get, the chicken tenders and the fries, and then a side of Dole Whip at the end. So they enjoyed that. Justin got the Dole Whip sundae or whatever that you can get, and I got the creme brulee, which was so good. So we really, really enjoyed that meal. And then we were walking over to the Grand Floridian because we had a 2:00 DVC tour. So the timing of that worked out really well. So we walked over there and met with Ryan, who I actually connected with through the Patreon group. Someone had recommended him as their coordinator for DVC. So he and I had emailed ahead of time to set this up with the timing, and so that we could kind of plan it into our day as opposed to trying to kind of wing it when we got there or stumble into something. So we did that. It was about an hour, I would say. It's for anyone who's considering doing the tour, it's very low pressure. The cast members who do it are very kind. They had coloring sheets and little games and stuff for the girls to play with. They had snacks, they had drinks, they had nice rooms to look at. So he took us through, and we did look at one of the rooms in the Grand Floridian, and then we ended up walking back over to the tower where we had just come from to look at the rooms there, which were beautiful. DVC is something that we've kind of like tossed around. It's probably not a right now for us, but I could see it being something that our family decides to do later down the road. But we enjoyed that. And by the time we left, we had $200 worth of Disney gift cards in my email address. So that was quick and easy. And, it was a nice little break. It was kind of cool to see the rooms and the different setups and talk to Ryan. So it was a good experience if you have a little bit of time to give. So then at this time, we did take the monorail back to Magic Kingdom because we were not on as much of a time crunch. And so we got to ride the monorail, which my girls enjoyed that as well. That was the only time that we did that on this trip too. So we were on the monorail at 3:15 and off at 3:20, and we walked right up on the Festival of Fantasy Parade. So we kind of lucked into the parades this time around. So that was great. We were getting there literally right as it was turning the corner to come around that like Main Street circle right there. So that was perfect. We enjoyed that and got to see pretty much the whole thing. So that was great. We had a lightning lane for Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor, which again, this was kind of like the Turtle Talk with Crush thing. We went in with pretty low expectations and really had a good time. It was cute. They read our joke, which again,
they did.
Eleanor
it's
thought
so
was like
rare.
the best thing ever. So she thought that was really fun. And so, yeah, that was really cute. We enjoyed that. We tapped into Buzz. We had a lightning lane for Buzz at 4:07. Again, this was one that I don't remember doing previously, but we really enjoyed this one. The whole family really liked it. So that was great. I thought it seemed fresh. You could tell that it had recently been refurbished. Our ride pictures, I didn't realize it was going to take our pictures. So the ride pictures from our first time on this ride are pretty funny because none of us are looking at the camera and you can't even see Hattie over it's just the top of her head. So that was pretty funny, but we did that. So at this time, I also made a note that all of the headliners were down because there was an earthquake.
Yes.
So that was kind of wild. We, like I said, tapped into Buzz at 4:07 and it didn't impact that ride, but you could see everything else was closed. That was crazy.
It's really crazy. That's not a sentence I anticipated ever hearing on this podcast.
Yeah.
The rides were down because of an earthquake.
Yeah. So I personally didn't feel any quakes, but I guess there was enough of an impact, especially for all the big coasters, that they had to do some, I don't know, testing or whatever. So we were a little bit nervous because we did have Tron lightning lanes that were supposed to be at 4:25. So I told Eleanor, I said, there's a chance that these don't come back up tonight. We'll have to just kind of see what happens. If it doesn't work out, we'll be back at Magic Kingdom, whatever. And I got a notification that our Tron lightning lane had been adjusted and just rescheduled for 15 minutes later. So I think it was at 4:20 and our lightning lane then was at 4:35. So everything started to come back online. So it had, I think, just come back up because as we were walking over there, everyone else was also walking over there because the standby line was really short. So if you had timed that right, you definitely could have gotten a pretty quick ride on Tron if you wanted to. So we tapped in at 4:35 for that. And this was a ride that Justin was not interested in riding, so much to Eleanor's disappointment. She only got to ride it once, but she really enjoyed it. That was one of the pictures that I sent in was our ride photo from that. It's really cute. And she enjoyed that. So we did that. And then she and I went and got in line to ride the Astro Orbiter. This ride, it said it was a posted 5-minute wait. Do not believe that. That is a crock of what. It was more like 20 minutes. It just takes forever.
It's the elevator.
Go up the elevator, then you wait. Then it's not a 5-minute wait. Don't believe that. So it was fine. She enjoyed it. I don't care for that ride, but it's okay.
And you can't get a lightning lane for it. So it's just
very silly. So we did that. It took probably 20 minutes. And then we started to head out. We stopped and got milkshakes from the plaza on the way out and headed back towards the bus. So we got in line for the bus at 6:00. The bus pulled up and someone had pooped on the bus on the way over. So they said at first the bus driver was trying to air it out. He said it stunk. And so he was just sitting there with the doors open. And I think there's quite a line building behind us for this bus. And he says, it's not getting any better. It probably needs to be cleaned. We're going to have to call another bus. They're going to send one. And so we phoned it in and we called another minivan. Now that we knew how to do that and how easy it was, we just walked ourselves right on over to the minivan pickup and it was there in about 3 minutes. And we took ourselves back to Port Orleans in a minivan instead of waiting for the poop bus. So that was kind of gross, but what are you going to do? I mean, I guess it happens, but yeah. And as we were driving away in our minivan, the poop bus was still sitting right there at the at
Well,
the station. So
good thing you called then.
yes. So that worked out for us. So then we decided to go. We had a boat rights reservation at 7:50. So we went over and swam for a little bit in the main pool. We kind of wandered into the lobby while we were waiting, and that was one of the nights they were having the pajama party, which was again another cool kids summer offering. So they had a cast member there reading from their little library, and then Minnie in her pajamas. Like, it was very cute. The way they did all that. So that was a good little bit of entertainment while we waited for our dinner at Boat Rights, which was very good. We enjoyed that a great deal, and it was nice to have it something other than the food court because we had such an experience with it earlier in the week. So to be able to have, a meal. So, and that was the end of that day. And at the end of the day, we had another 19,571 steps. So we were, again, racking them up, but again, not, running around to anything or feeling crazy, just really enjoying it. So
thank goodness you had a stroller, because the little ones having that many steps or more would have been hard.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. So the next day was Animal Kingdom time, including Bluey.
Yes. So we again we decided to drive to Animal Kingdom. So we left around 7:25. We parked and tapped in, and we had our first lightning lane was for Navi River at 8:10. And so we were but I knew I had been reading that we kind of wanted to be at Bluey right around the time that it opened to avoid some of the backup that happens there. So I just kind of said, okay, I know that there's a grace period with these lightning lanes, like 2 hours even. So we're not going to go all the way over to Pandora and then try and make it over to Bluey. So we stopped and did the Zootopia show at 7:54. So we were there right still in the early entry time period. It was a posted 10 minutes wait, but I think it's because the queue is so long to walk all the way down there. It takes you almost 10 minutes, I feel like. So by the time we got down there and waited for the next show, which that was really cute. My kids love Zootopia, so we really enjoyed that. The bugs like crawling on the seats and the water and the puffs of air, they got a kick out of that. So we enjoyed that. And so we did another coffee stop at the Starbucks right there, heading back towards the safari and Bluey. So we were in line at the Wilderness Train at 8:33. We were on the train at 8:37. We got there and got off the train and just kind of followed the crowd all the way in. We didn't have to wait. Like I said, it was about 5 minutes that we had to wait for the train. I feel like the train runs pretty regularly every, couple of minutes or so. So there wasn't really a wait for that, but we got back there and kind of followed the crowd and got in line. They were in the middle of one show when we got in there. So kind of like everyone has said, you do have to kind of stand in the room where the show is happening, which is kind of a funky setup the way they have it, but it was fine. It got the kids excited. We didn't have to wait super long. I was afraid because of the way they have the ropes sectioned off. It looked like we were not even going to be in the next group, but that we were going to have to wait another full cycle and then it would be our turn, which I was a little worried about because at that point it would have been a good bit of a wait. But we ended up getting in the next show. So the one finished and then we went right in. So this is again in line with some of the like character meets that are happening right now, just kind of chaotic. There's no lines there. That's not the point of this. It's not a traditional meet and greet, but my girls loved this. This was Hattie's highlight of the trip. She just thought it was the best thing ever. They loved interacting with Bingo and Bluey. They loved the games. We are huge Bluey people. So this was worth it for us to go get back there and do the waiting and things like that. So that was really fun. We enjoyed that. So the show was done. I made a note. We were on the train at 8:37 and we were finished with our show at 9:20. So from the time we got on the train, waited for the show, did the show at 9:20. And then we did wander around in the back area a little bit. I think I mentioned in the pre-trip, my oldest is really interested in animals right now. She thinks she wants to be a vet or a zookeeper. So she really enjoyed kind of wandering around back there and seeing kind of the ins and outs of what they were doing. They did have the kangaroos and the wallabies where you could see them. We couldn't walk back in with them, but we could very clearly see them kind of through the fence and we could talk to the keepers about them. So that was cool. And picked up a little bit of merch back there. And then we were heading on the train back at 9:43. So all in all, about an hour and 15, I would say. To a lot for that, especially first thing in the morning. I could see where it could get pretty long to wait if you don't time it just right. So going in the morning, I think, is definitely the move if that's a must do for your family. We then tapped right into the safari at 10. There was a posted 55-minute wait for the safari at that point, and we tapped in at 10 and we were off at 10:35. We had a great safari. We saw, I feel like, everything, 3 lions. We saw hippos, we saw rhinos, we saw giraffes, we saw the baby elephant, we saw the baby giraffe. So it was very cute.
And then you had a lightning lane for that one.
We did have a lightning lane for that, yes. So we didn't have much of a wait. The standby wait was 55 minutes at that point. So I was glad for that. So that was the first lightning lane that we tapped into because we still hadn't made it over to our Navi River that we had for earlier in the morning. So we did at that point. I then booked a lightning lane for the Lion King show. So we got off the safari at 10:35 and we tapped in for the Lion King at 10:45 for an 11 o'clock show. That's always a hit. We love that show. It was great. Very well done as always. One of Justin's really must-dos was to find the ice cream cookie dough brownie sandwich creation that is floating around out there. So we stumbled upon the little cart that serves them at Terra Treats, I think it's called.
Mm-hmm.
So the way they had it set up was there's a stand for the food, and then there was also a guy standing next to it who only had ice cream sandwiches. So if you wanted something else, you had to stay in line and go up to the food stall that was there. But if you only wanted an ice cream sandwich, you just paid this one cast member and he got them out of his cooler and you were well on your way. So there was virtually no line for that. So there was no waiting, and it was so good. We loved this. It was delicious. Everyone really wanted a bite of it. So that was worth it. It was really good. Justin and Eleanor then went and I had tried to get them a lightning lane for Kali River Rapids after the Lion King show, but they were pushed out to pretty late in the afternoon at that point, and the standby wait was only about 15 minutes. So they went and did that together and were off at 12:08. And then we had lightning lanes for Everest. It had been a while since I'd done this ride. So at this point, Eleanor was charging that she wanted to do all the roller coasters because she thought that this was, she was on for this challenge now at this point, that she had done Guardian, she'd done Tron, and she was feeling brave. So I said, okay, well, the ride here at Animal Kingdom is Everest. So I remembered from when I came as a teenager that it went backwards and there were some effects, but I didn't tell her that because I didn't want to scare her off from it. So we got in line, we tapped in for that at 12:13 and we were off at 12:21. This ride, again, as someone who is a little bit prone to motion sickness, Guardians doesn't get me. This one about did me. and I don't know if it's because it was also starting to get hotter at this point or because we hadn't really eaten much in the day, but I got off and I was like, whoa, I couldn't do that one again if she wanted me to do it again. So that was kind of a mess.
How did she do?
She loved it. She thought it was great. Once she did it the first time, she thought it was great. But I could not do that one 2 times in a row. I don't know. People who say they run around the single rider line over and over again in the mornings and just do it back to back, it couldn't be me. That would not be me. So, but she did get back in line with Justin to do that. So she enjoyed that, doing that twice. So at that point, we decided we wanted to go over and try Nomad Lounge. So we joined the walk-up list at 12:36, which I could join as soon as we walked past the Nemo show was when I noticed that we were close enough to join the walk-up list because I had been checking. It was fluctuating back and forth between a 10 and a 15-minute wait. So I wasn't too worried about that, but that was when I could tap in for that. So it was a 15-minute wait, and we were called at 12:46 to sit down. So not even 15 minutes. That food was excellent. Also, everyone enjoyed it. Justin really liked the mushroom dumplings, and we had the churros also. Churros are not a prevalent food here in North Carolina, but the first night at Disney Springs, Eleanor saw a churro cart and was like begging for one. We didn't get one that night. And so I said, you know what? Here's your chance. These are the best churros that you will find in Disney World. So today you can have your churros. So we really enjoyed those as well. And we were walking out around 1:50. So we really enjoyed that. We stopped.
You're walking on Nomad, not the park.
Yes. No, we were walking out of Nomad Lounge at that point. So we stopped for a PhotoPass, the one that was right there it's got like Lion King across the top. So we did that. And then, but actually though, that was the last thing that we did at Animal Kingdom that day. So we were headed back to the resort around 2:20. that day.
But you use your Navi lighting lane?
We never used it. No, we never
Okay.
made it over to that side of the park, and we just kind of said, oh, well, we did it the last time we were here. We are pretty sure we will be back again. So we didn't feel like kind of getting all the way over there into Pandora after we were already on our way out. So we never made it over there. We lost that one, but that was okay. So we were back around 2:20. We kind of wanted to kind of lay low, but we also really wanted our room serviced because we had, it'd been a couple days and we needed towels or whatever. So when we got back, the cart was just a few doors down from our room. And so we said, okay, instead of going into the room now and chilling and then going to the pool, we'll just go to the pool and then come back and have some downtime afterwards. So we went over to the quiet pool that was right across the bridge from our room, which was great. And we came back around 3:30 and they had not cleaned our room. So I don't know if the carts, if they've got if they don't go in sequential order, I don't really know how that works. And at that point we were just like, oh, well. So we kind of hung out in the room. That was around 3:30, like I said. And of course, we were showering and they came at 4:15 to clean our room while we were in the shower and trying to get ready. But it's okay. It was fine. They gave us new towels and that was all good. So at that point, and I don't remember when we had decided to do this, but I made a reservation for dinner at Artist Point over at Wilderness Lodge. So I knew we were going to have some time this evening. I knew we did not want to eat at the food court again. I knew we had already eaten at Boatwright's and was trying to think about some other places kind of around that we could try. So we left at 5:00. We drove over there. We checked in at 5:25. I think our reservation was for 5:45 maybe, or 5:35 even. We weren't sat until about 5:50. I remember kind of feeling like, oh, this is a little bit slower than I'm used to, but we had never been over to Wilderness Lodge. So we wandered around their lobby. We visited their shops. We did a little bit of pin trading. There were quite a few people kind of out with boards and stuff. So my girls were enjoying that. We kind of, looked around in the fountains that they have there. There's a lot to look at in their lobby. So it was fine. It was no big deal. So we got sat around 5:50. This was about every bit of a 90-minute experience dinner. It was long. We loved the food. The girls loved this experience. Okay, I shouldn't say we loved the food. Justin and I loved our food. I would not say that the food here is super kid friendly. My children really loved the appetizer tray, which is literally just raw vegetables on a plate that they bring out and some bread. So, you're paying a hefty price tag for that and for some chicken tenders again. But the interaction that we had with the evil queen while we were there was probably the best interaction we had the entire trip. She was amazing.
Nice.
So that was great. And it was fun to see the Dopey and Grumpy. That was super cute. We had seen Snow White already once, but that was super cute. So the food was great. I was surprised. I feel like at most character meals, you can constantly see characters kind of like moving around the room, even if they're not at your table. But these ones, I feel like they all left. And the queen comes out, I guess, and does her thing. And then she leaves. And then the rest of them come out and do their roaming about and dancing. I just noticed every once in a while I would look up and be like, oh, there's no characters out kind of visiting tables or whatever. So I think their structure is maybe a little bit different than your traditional character meal, perhaps because of the queen. But she was awesome. We really enjoyed that meal. The food was excellent. It was definitely the most expensive meal we ate on this entire trip, even more than our Four Seasons breakfast. Mm-hmm. But it was good. So we enjoyed that. It was something different to do. It was, a nice break, something different food-wise and all of that. So it was good. And we were in bed watching cartoons at 8:00. I made a note of.
So no glow party that night.
We did not make it to the glow party. No. And I'm not sure. Like we could hear it a little bit as we were kind of walking in that night. So no, I don't know what that entails. That will remain a surprise for someone else to experience. But yeah, we traded the pool for the Artist Point dinner that night. So.
All right. So the next day was Wednesday, June 10th, and you were back at Magic Kingdom.
We were going back to Magic Kingdom. So we had said, no way, we're not taking the bus again. So we were planning to call a mini. And the first time, and it said it was going to be there in 6 minutes. And I was like, oh no, we're not ready. Like you can't pre-schedule them. So I was expecting there to be at least like a 25-minute, time. Everybody was up and moving, but we were not going to be to the parking lot in 6 minutes. So I canceled it. a little bit later, I went ahead and called it again, and then we had to wait 30 minutes. So there's, not really a good rhyme or reason. I feel like you just kind of have to be ready and be flexible and maybe not be on too much of a time crunch if you want to use that mode of transportation, especially in the mornings when I'm sure they are busy trying to get people to the parks. So, but that was fine because it picks up, because we were so close to the parking lot, it came and picked up right in the little circle right outside of our hotel, outside of our building. So that was great. So we did that, and we were still into Magic Kingdom at 8:20, and 8:30 was early entry. So it was not an issue. We did stop for coffee again, and this time we were headed into Tomorrowland. We knew we really wanted to ride Buzz again because everybody enjoyed that, but I hadn't done a lightning lane for Buzz on this day because I wanted to get some other things that we hadn't done. So we went and rope dropped that in Tomorrowland. We tapped in. We were into Tomorrowland at 8:33, in line at 8:37, and off at 8:55. And then we got onto the People Mover, which is a crowd favorite also. So we enjoyed a little tour on that morning. So we did that. And then at 9:17, we had to ride the carousel again because anytime we walked past it, Hattie demanded that we ride it. So we did that. And our next lightning lane was I think it was at 9:30 for Big Thunder again. So I had gotten Big Thunder lightning lanes for both of our Magic Kingdom days, which was worth it. Eleanor loved that ride. So she got to ride that twice again. So we did that twice in a row. We were off that at 10:05. And then we got in line for the Country Bears show at 10:08. That was super cute. I really like the update to that. I thought it was really relevant and fun and new and fresh. So that was really cute. We enjoyed that a good bit. We have a park near us who at Christmas does a Christmas light train ride with a carousel, and they have singing bears. And so Hattie was like, it's the singing bears. These are the same singing bears from our house. It was very cute. So that was sweet. So we did that. At 10:30, we had a lightning lane for Haunted Mansion. Hattie went kicking and screaming into the line for Haunted Mansion. I don't know why. We didn't maybe just the word haunted. She's 3. I don't know. She just had it in her mind that she did not want to ride this ride. And there was a very sweet, it must have been a grandma with a younger girl behind her. And they were talking to her and telling her, it's not scary. The ghosts are funny. It's silly. You're going to like it, whatever. So by the time we got to the stretching room, she had kind of calmed down, but apologies to anyone else who was in the Haunted Mansion line at 10:30 and saw me trying to wrestle an alligator into the line because we were all going to ride this ride together, and she was not having it. So, but of course, by the time we got off, she said, can we ride that again? I said, yep. Okay. So that was great. Then we did that. We got in line for Enchanted Tales with Belle. This is another sleeper hit, especially if you have young kids. Oh my gosh. It was adorable. Adorable. And my kids, Eleanor got picked to be the Beast, and Hattie was Chip. And it was just the cutest thing ever. I thought it was adorable. So that was great. That was a highlight too. We really enjoyed that. Eleanor.
Did they get PhotoPass pictures?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is funny because they give you a card on the way out, like a golden card, and you end up with everyone's pictures. And I don't know how to remove them, but they're not individual. Everyone from that section gets the same card. And so there are a lot of random people's pictures with Belle in my PhotoPass app right now because they take individual pictures of every kid in the show and then with Belle. And then if anybody wants family pictures, it's a lot of photo.
They must have decided that was easier than scanning individual accounts.
Yes. So that was really cute though. And we all really enjoyed that. Again, had never done that before, weren't really sure what it was going to be all about, but it was really cute. Eleanor she's big, she takes drama class, she's in a theater camp this week, and so that was right up her alley. So that she got to dance with Belle, she thought was so special, and that she got chosen to be the Beast. So that was a core memory for sure.
It's cute.
Yes. And Hattie just thought being Chip was also so fun. So it was perfect. At this point, we had individual lightning lanes for Seven Dwarfs. And so we were doing, and I had bought 4 of them this time, thinking maybe we would get there and Hattie would, be brave and she would show, over the course of the week. No, she had no interest in it. So we did, again, Eleanor took Hattie's band and got to ride it twice back to back. So we enjoyed that. And we were off that twice at 11:45. So then we hit the bathroom and the Rapunzel ice cream cone that you can get right there, the pink and blue swirly and the purple cone. That was a big hit with my kids. They enjoyed that. And then we headed over towards Adventureland because we had a Pirates Lightning Lane that we were going to use. So we tapped in there. And as we were walking in line, Jack Sparrow was coming through the Lightning Lane to go out, I guess, to his meet and greet. So that was fun. We got to run into him. My husband loves pirates. And so that was a highlight for him, this whole part of the trip. So that was great. So we did that. We rode that, tapped in at 12:10. And then while we were in line, walking through the Lightning Lane, I did a mobile order at Pecos Bills for one when we got off Pirates. So we got right off Pirates and I tapped that we were here at 12:28 and we walked right over there. We walked through the shop. The girls got pirate swords because when in Pirates Land, I guess that's something, then we had to bring them home with us, but they really wanted that. So they got little toys there and went and picked up our food. So we enjoyed that. And we were done eating by 1:00. There is plenty of seating in there, I will say. So if you're looking for somewhere to sit that's kind of air conditioned and calm-ish, it was a good place to land. So we did that. And then we had a Lightning Lane for Magic Carpets. So we tapped in there at 1:02 and we were off at 1:13. And then we had gotten a Lightning Lane ahead of time. I had booked Tiana's this time ahead of time just to make sure in case we weren't able to get it the first time. So it was a posted 50-minute wait standby. So we tapped in the first time at 1:18. That was Justin and Eleanor. They went the first time and they were off at 1:40. So it was a little bit more crowded this day. I felt like that was a little bit longer of a wait. They were in the front row and they got soaked. They got soaked. So they tapped in, like I said, at 1:18 and they were off at 1:40. Hattie and I just kind of hung out. We wandered through the not creature comfort, whatever that little whatever that store is right there, and wandered around in there for a little bit. And then we waited for them. So they were off at 1:40. Eleanor and I got back in line at 1:42. And we made it through and we got to the front and the girl's like, "You want the front row?" And Eleanor's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Okay, great."
She's like, "I'm already soaked."
Like, right, I'm already wet. So we get on the ride and we're kind of, moseying around again. We get up to the first hill and Eleanor says, "Mom, is it raining?" I said, "No, I think it's just cloudy. Like it kind of looks like it might rain." We get out there and it is pouring. When I tell you, we got soaked. We got more wet from the rain than we did from the ride. This was the only rain we had our entire trip, was the 30 minutes that she and I were riding through Tiana's with nowhere to go.
You couldn't escape it.
No, there was no avoiding it. So she and I got soaked because every time we went out, it was dumping buckets of rain. So that was kind of funny. And so at that point, when we got to the end, we were like, well, whatever, you might as well. Like, we're already soaked. But it was not raining when we went into the line and it was pouring while we were on the ride. And by the time we got out, it had all but stopped raining. So
that is crazy.
It was wild.
It was like one of those buckets that dumps at the bus. It just dumped on you.
Yeah. It was great. So that was funny. Justin and Hattie didn't even know that it rained because they had walked over and gone back to the Country Bears show while we were on the ride. So they had timed it just right. And the stroller parking there is covered. I said, "You got so lucky because otherwise that stroller would have been soaked if you had just left it outside." So he said, "I didn't even know it rained," because they were inside the whole time. So that was kind of funny. So yeah, front row both times. We were off at 2:09 and we met back up with them. And then we picked up a Lightning Lane for Small World. So we kind of walked back through past Haunted Mansion again. And Hattie was like, "Can we ride that again?" I said, "Not right now." The line for that, I don't know if it's because of the construction that they're doing or if everyone just wants to ride it. The line was so long and it stretches all the way back, like past where the Liberty Bell boat used to be.
Mm-hmm.
I think partially because of the construction that they're doing in there, it can't maybe wind quite as much, but it was a long walk to get back in that line. I said, "No, we're not getting back in that line. Sorry, honey." We kind of walked past that and up the hill and tapped into Small World at 2:25. So we did that. We grabbed another Lightning Lane for Dumbo after that. So we kind of kept our tour going around back into that circus area. So as we were kind of coming around, we saw over off to the side there where Minnie and Goofy and some of them meet in their like circus costumes. The cast member had just opened the line again for their next meet and greet. I figured it was about 15 minutes before they were going to meet. So it was 2:50. And so Justin got in line for us to meet Minnie and Goofy. And I took the girls to go ride Dumbo. So we tapped into our lightning lane. We made it all the way to the front. We got to the front and there was a guest there who was causing a scene. Something happened where somebody else in their group had taken up an extra elephant. So there was not enough elephants for the people who were supposed to be on the ride. And so this caused this one lady to not be able to ride in the elephant with her children. And it turned into the biggest commotion. I couldn't believe it. I said, these are grown adults and this is a flying elephant ride and you are causing such a scene. And it took probably 15 minutes because then the mom left her younger daughter and tried to put her on the ride with her son who was already on the ride, but the son wasn't old enough to supervise the younger like it was just they were in and out. Like it was crazy. And so at this point I'm texting Justin because Minnie and Goofy are getting ready to come out and I said just let the people behind you go in front of you. Well, the attendant would not let him do that. They said you have to like keep moving. So the doors for Dumbo opened and I said, do you want to ride Dumbo or do you want to go meet Minnie and Goofy? And they said, Hattie was like, I want to meet Minnie. So we skipped Dumbo, went over because he was like second in line because he had been waiting since the line opened. So anyway, the timing of that was it would have been perfect if if someone hadn't had themselves a moment.
The repercussions of bad behavior.
Yes. So that was unfortunate. So anyway, we did that. We met Minnie and Goofy and then I went and just asked the attendant at the lightning lane and kind of explained. And I mean, everyone who was working there like knew what had happened. And I said, we used our lightning lane, but we didn't get to ride. And she was like, just go ahead. So she let us back through the lightning lane, which was very sweet. So we did end up getting to ride Dumbo again, which my girls were very happy about. So it all worked out. But I was just like, this is the happiest place on earth until it's not. But so at that point, Eleanor knew she had one more big roller coaster that she needed to get in, which was Space Mountain. And this was kind of the final frontier for her.
That's a big one.
It was. So I had been kind of looking throughout the day to try and get a lightning lane for that. So I was able to get one for around 3:30. So she and I went and did Space Mountain at 3:30 and Justin and Hattie were happy to go ride the People Mover again while we did that. So that worked out perfectly. She loved Space Mountain. That was another one that Justin was like, I'm not interested in. So sorry, you're a one and done on that one. But she enjoyed it. She really did. She did a great job, even though it was really dark. I had tried to prep her on that one. Like, it's going to be really dark and you're not going to be able to see much and it's kind of jerky. And I can't sit next to you.
Exactly.
Like that's the hard thing. So I like put my hands on her shoulders. I was like, see, I'm right here. She was in the middle. So there was someone in front of her and I was behind her. So I think that was good. But she was a little nervous about that. But it worked out.
Understandably.
Yes.
But she had worked up to it.
She had. Yes. So that was good. So we did that. And then we were headed back towards the front of the park at that point because we had a horse and carriage ride booked at Port Orleans that night. So I knew we had to get out. Ended up making another boat rights reservation for dinner. So I knew that we had to kind of get moving. So we started to head out. We wandered through the Emporium. And while we were there, we called another minivan. So we did that. And we were back to our resort. We were able to shower. We rested for like half an hour. And then we had boat rights for dinner at 5:10. So we did that. I made a note of what I had. Justin and I both had the shrimp pappardelle. I don't know if that's how you say that, but it was delicious. It was probably my favorite thing that I ate all week. It was so good. And
at boat rights.
Yes, at boat rights and the peanut butter pie. So if you find yourself in the area of Port Orleans, skip the food court and make a reservation at boat rights.
I've been hearing a lot of good things about boat rights lately, and I've eaten there many times, but it's been a little while. And it just one of the frustrating things about Disney World is that things change.
Yes,
because it used to be kind of meh, like okay, fine. If you're staying at Riverside, go eat there, whatever. It wasn't anything to like brag about. But lately, people have been really loving it.
Yeah, so it was very good. We all really enjoyed our food, and again, this was one of the ones where the kids' meal could come with a side of ice cream. So the girls were thrilled with that. So we did that. I thought it was funny because I had at this point also I had set Standby Skipper. The one thing that the girls kind of wanted to ride that we didn't ever get to was Peter Pan. So I had set Standby Skipper to look for that. And it finally grabbed one for $6.55 that night. So it just never really opened up, which was fine. I knew that was probably going to be the case, but I thought that was funny. I made a note. I got a notification that it was booked for $6.55. So after boat rights, we kind of walked right out the back door and got on our horse and carriage ride at 6:30. This was a really kind of fun and sweet way to see things. The girls thought they were celebrities because everyone was waving at them and they felt so
like
big time.
like
Yes.
princesses.
Yes, they thought this was just like the best thing ever. So they were waving at everybody. The people on the boat were waving at them. The people walking were waving at them. The people in the pool were like, it was very cute. So we had a great carriage ride. We ended up, when we got on, the driver said, since you guys are we're the first ones out, you get to decide, do you want to go over to French Quarter or do you want to ride through Riverside? I guess they had two carriages and we were the first ones loaded and ready to go. So she said, you guys get to choose. So we said, let's go to French Quarter. So we did. And they take you like all through that resort, all the way down the walkway to where the boat is, past the French Quarter pool, into the French Quarter, through the resort, past the playground, past the pool again. Like it was very nice. And it was I made a note, it was $58. We have the Disney Visa. So with the discount, it was $58, which I felt like was not too crazy of a price for a nice little ride. So we enjoyed that. And again, my children are animal lovers, so they enjoyed getting to talk about the horses and how old he was and what he did when he was not giving carriage rides and all of that. So that was great. So we enjoyed that. And then after that, we stopped and, of course, had to play in the arcade for a little bit. So we did that for a few minutes. And then we wandered back over to the gift shop because at this point, my girls think that we're leaving still tonight because it was a surprise that we were going to Animal Kingdom.
God, that was a surprise.
Yes, so they thought we were leaving. So I told them that we could go back to the gift shop and so that they could do their shopping with the gift cards that their grandparents had given them and pick out what they wanted. So they were still thinking that this was the end of it. So we walked back over there, and while we were there, we came across, I guess he was the manager. He was giving out Cool Kids Summer pins for kids. So he asked us, he was wearing a black, like all black. He was not dressed in typical cast member outfit. So he kind of stuck out. And he also had like a satchel. And so he and I, as the girls were, of course, pushing the small shopping carts all around and filling them with all the things, he and I just he said, have you been enjoying your time? Have you taken advantage of any of the Cool Kids Summer things? And I said, yes, we've enjoyed the pajama party and blah, blah, blah. And so he said, have your girls gotten into pin trading? And I said, they have a little bit, it's a little bit overwhelming. It can be a little intimidating if you don't know what you're doing. And so he opened up his bag and he had these boards basically that had 2 Cool Kids Summer pins on them each. And it said one for trading, one for keeping, or whatever you wanted to do. So I thought that was really sweet. We did not encounter anyone else with those at any other point. So I don't know if it's just timing, if it's just when that person happens to be there, because we were in the gift shop a couple other times throughout our trip and didn't see anybody. So that was really fun. And I think if they, want to encourage kids to get into pin trading, that's a good way to do it because parents aren't really excited about paying $30 per pin for something that their kids are going to trade. It's one of those things. So I thought that was really nice. And so we did get those Cool Kids Summer pins, and both the girls kept one and then ended up trading one. So that was good. And then we went back and we watched the fireworks in bed on the Disney TV. You can watch the pre-recorded Happily Ever After. We had kind of hemmed and hawed, went back and forth about trying to stick it out or going back to Magic Kingdom or at least taking Eleanor to see the fireworks. And we just, it was going to be too much. And so she was a little bit bummed that we didn't get to see fireworks. So I had read somewhere that you could watch them pre-recorded. So we did that night. And that was really sweet. So
yeah, I wasn't noticing. I always say every trip seems like it has its rhythm. And yours it didn't include nighttime entertainment. Yeah, because you're just tired by then, it sounds like.
I think so. And both of my kids we have pretty strict bedtime routines at home. Kind of always, we're pretty early to bed. And Hattie normally still naps, and she really didn't. We didn't go back really for a midday break for her to take an actual nap. She caught some stroller naps, and she did great. But it wasn't worth it for us. And, as they get older, I think I would love to do some of that nighttime stuff with them. But this time around, it just really wasn't in the cards for us, which was okay.
Well, then let's go to your next day, the surprise day, Thursday, June 11th.
Yes. So this morning I met the stroller return. I knew we weren't going to need it that day because we weren't going to a park. So I met them at 7 that morning in the Port Orleans front area to return the stroller. So that was easy. And then we loaded up. We told the girls we were heading out. We were heading to the airport because we had to go. And we ended up pulling into the Animal Kingdom Lodge. And Eleanor said, "What are we doing here?" I said, "Oh, we have to Mommy has to pick something up. I want to pick something up from here. So by the time we got in and said we were checking in, they were just beside themselves. I said, how about one more night? And it was so sweet. That was a core memory for me. First of all, I was proud of myself that I kept the secret that long, but it was worth it. They were very surprised and it was great. So
how about one more night is so cute.
How about one more night? So that was really special. So we got there pretty early. We were there around 8, and obviously our room was not ready yet, which was fine, but we were staying club level. So we left our bags. We did bring our bags in this time instead of leaving them in the car. So we brought them in and left them with bell services. I kind of opened one up and took out the things that we were going to need because I knew we were going to spend most of the time at the pool that day. So I pulled out all of our swim stuff and left everything else with bell services. And we went upstairs and kind of met the concierge people, and they explained to us kind of how club level works and what we needed to do. And so we were there for breakfast. So we enjoyed some, just eggs and croissants and fruit and yogurt, biscuits and mimosas, if you so choose to enjoy. So that was nice. This day really felt most like vacation as opposed to the rest of the days that were not. They were wonderful, but they weren't like relaxing. This was much more low key. So we went and had breakfast, and then we went downstairs and got changed, and we swam at the Jumbo pool for about an hour. The pool was great. The water slide was fun. We really enjoyed that pool setup, so that was good. We got out around 11 and we went and visited Simba's Clubhouse, which is like their little kid zone that they have there at Jumbo. And so they have TVs, they had like game systems, they had crafts, they had coloring sheets, they had blocks and toys and all of that. So that was great. It was a nice way to kill a little bit of time since we didn't really have anything else to do. We were kind of hoping that our room was going to be ready sooner rather than 4:00, but we knew that might not be the case. So we just kind of putz around. We went and shopped in the gift shop there in Jumbo House and did that for a little bit. And then at 12:00 is when the lunch snacks come out upstairs in the club area. So we went up and did that. This was definitely the lightest of the meal offerings. So I would say if you're planning to use the club kind of like we were for all of your meals, just know that lunch is definitely on the lighter side. They had all sorts of veggies and like cheese and meat tray, like a charcuterie type deal. They had Uncrustables like cut into quarters. They had turkey and cheese little roll-up wraps, but it was not quite as entree heavy as breakfast and dinner were. So, but that was fine. We didn't really need a lot. And right around this time at 12:00, we got a notification that our room was ready, which was great. Our room was on the 4th floor. And it was right around the corner. Like if you got off the elevator, it was kind of catty corner from the elevator. I had put in a request to be near the lobby, but I also said prioritize it being done first. So I don't know if we had waited, if we would have been a little bit closer to the lobby, but I didn't feel like it was that long of a walk. So that was fine. We went back to the room. We called Bill Services and they brought our stuff up, and we wanted to go over to the Kidani pool to enjoy their pool and the splash pad that was over there.
I feel like you're hitting the best splash
Yes,
pads.
I know. We really did. We really did. So we left around 12:30, and on our way out, they were doing a craft in the lobby. In front of the doors, they have like a gold-plated medallion that's in the floor, and it's got animals and all sorts of things. And they had a cast member there with paper showing the kids how to do rubbings of the animals from the medallion that was on the floor. So I thought that was really neat. We stopped and did that for a few minutes. So the girls enjoyed that. And then we took the internal bus over to the Kidani pool. So we waited maybe 5 minutes. It just runs on a continuous loop, I think, from one end to the other. So about 1:00, we went over there and swam, and we were there for a good couple of hours. We spent the majority of our time there. The pool, the slide there was awesome. The big slide and the little slide, which Hattie would have just like done literally for 3 hours on repeat. But the splash pad was super fun. All the slides, the girls really enjoyed that. We got a couple drinks from their pool bar, so that was fun and just really enjoyed the pool at that point. And at this time, they were doing a paid poolside craft, which was bangle bracelets where you could like use these kind of African inspired beads to make bangles. So both of the girls made one of those as like a nice little souvenir. Those were $8, so I felt like not overly outrageously priced. So that was fun. Around 4:00, we went to get the internal shuttle back. And as we were walking up, we thought it was kind of funny because the pool back there is pretty shaded Like there's a lot of trees and umbrellas and things like that. So we hadn't really been paying much attention to the weather. But as we were walking up the ramp, somebody stopped us and said, "Is the pool still open?" We've gotten down there a couple times where they've said it's been closed and we didn't know. And we walked all the way down there and it was closed. So I said, "No." I thought it was kind of a weird question. Like, no, it's open. But we got up to the parking lot and there were these big gray clouds. And I was like, "Oh, I guess it's getting ready to storm." We didn't even realize it, but we timed it kind of perfectly. So we took the internal shuttle back and we started hearing a couple rumbles of thunder and all that. So we went back and we took showers and just kind of relaxed in the room for a little bit. And the club had dinner starting at 5:00. So we went upstairs right around 5:00 to get dinner. And for this one, they did have more entree-ish type things. They had a tomato soup, which was really good, a butter chicken and rice dish. They had corn dog nuggets for the kids. They had, all the different types of African cheeses and meats and jellies and nuts and all that sort of thing out, which was really good. So we enjoyed that. And then, of course, they just put out a freezer with as many Mickey bars as you want. All the sodas, they have a bartender there, all the alcoholic beverages you could desire to have. So it was good. We enjoyed that for dinner. So we spent about an hour there and then we went down to the arcade. Again, it's very similar to the Riverside arcade in case anyone was wondering, but we enjoyed that for a little bit and then realized that they were about to do the s'mores on the Savannah right across the way. So we walked back out and roasted marshmallows. We didn't pay for the graham cracker kits or anything like that. We just did the free marshmallows that were included. So that was fun. So we did that for a little bit. And then at 8:00, they put dessert out in the club. So we walked back upstairs and
you're making full use of the club.
Oh, yes, we sure did. We walked back up and had some dessert again, Mickey bars, and they had like little mini pastries, whatever you care to enjoy, and cordials and things of that nature. So we did that. And this was our lowest step count day by far, only 12,886 steps all around the resort, and a lot of those in the pool and up and down the slide. But it was a great day. It was very kind of low key and was the perfect way to end the trip. So
did you see any animals?
We did. So we did have a Savannah view room. And so we saw zebra, we saw some giraffes kind of in the distance. They didn't ever get really close. Our room was very close to the pelicans little lagoon thing. So there were 3 pelicans in there. And we actually talked to the keeper on the day we got there when we were kind of wandering around waiting for our room to be ready. And she told us about them. They have names and how they get fed. And she was giving them medicine and telling them about the personalities of all the different ones and that sort of thing. So we saw them. We saw, some wildebeest that we could see quite often. So yes, we saw many animals. And that was a highlight again for my animal loving children. It was very special to be able to just walk out on the balcony and point at, the zebra that's just eating in the grass right in front of you. It's kind of wild, but it was really neat.
So well worth it for a little surprise.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. It was wonderful.
Good. This is a really fun way to end your trip.
Yes. Yep. It was great.
So the next day was Friday, June 12th.
Yep. So we were up again pretty early. We did go up again and use the club for breakfast because you get it all day on your check-in day and all day on your check-out day. So even though you're only paying for one night, if you're like us, you can really maximize 2 full days of that. So that was great. We went up. I did notice, I think maybe they have like 2 or 3 like rotations of food because the breakfast offerings were a little bit different from the day before. The day before they'd had like a frittata and sticky buns and a couple other things. And this day they had eggs with feta and tomatoes, kind of like a scramble type deal. They had bread pudding and a few other things. So we did enjoy that. And then we went back to the room. We did chat with an animal keeper kind of from our balcony. He noticed us standing out there when we made it back to the room. And he was just like, "Hey, how's it going?" And really like took a few minutes to chat with us about what he was doing, talking about how he was like cleaning up the pond for the pelicans and all of that. So that was really nice to get to chat with him. And we didn't really do much this day. We wandered back down and shopped a little bit, but we knew we needed to kind of get on the road. And having not ever flown out of Sanford before, and we knew we needed to like get gas in the rental car and return that and make sure we could get our bags checked and all that. So we left around 10:30. It was again about a 50-minute drive. We stopped for gas a little bit away from the airport, so that was no big deal. We got to the airport right around 11:30. We checked both our bags. Allegiant was nice enough. We had 2 checked bags and they were both pretty close to 50 pounds on the way there. We didn't buy a ton this time around, I will say, but I knew when I was repacking that I probably didn't do as good of a job dispersing the weight between the two as I did the first time. So one of our bags was 52 pounds and they were kind enough to take an average of the two so that I didn't have to pull everything out and repack it in the middle of the airport. So shout out to Allegiant for that support. My other hot tip is if you happen to be traveling with a car seat that you are gate checking, we put all of the stuffed animals that we bought inside the car seat bag because it doesn't add much weight, but those suckers take up a lot of space in a
They do.
suitcase. And when
Mhm.
you're flying on some of these budget airlines and you can't carry anything with you that's not in a bag, I knew that the 3 loveys that each of my kids bought were not going to fit. So we just dropped them right into the car seat bag and they went for a nice little flight in the car seat bag. So that is also a little hot tip.
That's good.
Yep. So we were through security and at our gate at around 12:06, and the food in the Sanford airport costs about as much as the food at the Disney resort. So if you can avoid having to eat a full meal there, I would highly suggest that because it is not cheap. But we just got like a couple pieces of fruit and a few things to hold us over because it was right around lunchtime. And then we were on our way. We had no flight delays on either side. Our travel was very easy. So we were home around 3:00 and that was it.
That was it.
I know. That was it.
Such
It was so
Yes.
great. But
Yeah, it sounds like it was a really good trip overall. Is there anything you would do differently?
oh, honestly, I can't think of anything. The only thing, Justin, we probably would not stay at Port Orleans Riverside again for that length of time. It was fine. The accommodations were fine, but I think it's just for the stage of life that we're in, would have preferred to have something maybe with the monorail or with the Skyliner. Since we had a car, like I said, it was completely fine. It was nice and quiet, whatever. But that's probably, a one and done for us in terms of resort location. But
Because you said you stayed at Art of Animation before.
Yeah, that
So
was
it
really
sounds like you preferred that.
yeah, I think so. And the room at Port Orleans felt small. Obviously, it's going to be small compared to like the family suites, but even compared to like the 2 queen beds that we had at Animal Kingdom Lodge, like the room just felt small. There was no storage. Like it was cramped for us to be in there for so many days kind of on top of each other. So,
Mhm.
but it was okay.
So next time, maybe a monorail or Skyliner.
Yes. Yep. And we've already booked our bounce back to go back. We actually, are actually hoping to get back at the end of July and booked a little bounce back. We did upgrade our tickets to annual passes just because this trip was so awesome and is something that our family really is enjoying right now. All 4 of us really had the best time and so are trying to capitalize on that. It was so easy for us to get down there. So, yep.
Well, now you'll have AP rates as well.
That's right. Yes, that's right.
'Cause
Yep.
Those are pretty good sometimes.
Yes.
So you mentioned the pre-trip that you had costs that you were tracking.
Yes. So that was one thing. And I will say one tip that I have, we used gift cards almost exclusively for all of our spending on this trip. I do almost all of our grocery shopping at Target. And so what I would do leading up, since we booked this so far in advance leading up, we have our weekly grocery budget. And anytime I was under our grocery budget, I would pick up a Target gift card and put the difference on a Disney gift card so that, over the months, it really added up and we had a nice little nest egg of gift cards to be able to use without really feeling like we were having to kind of pinch pennies. And it also kind of checked my spending at Target. Like if I know I can put this extra on this Disney gift card, maybe I'm not going to pick that up on the way out of Target. So that was just a little tip. And it was really easy to manage the gift cards on their website and combine them and stuff like that. So that was good. So yes, we did the promo that we booked on was like pay for 4 nights and get 2 free. So that was kind of our main reason for booking at this time. So that at Port Orleans Riverside, that package was $4,222 for the 6 nights and the 6 single day tickets that we had. Our 1 night club level at Animal Kingdom Lodge was $827, which we also signed up for the Inspire visa as we were booking this trip. So the credits that we ended up with and the gift card promo from signing up for that card almost covered entirely our 1 night at Animal Kingdom Lodge. So that's also something, if it's within your means and you can swing it and you know you have a trip coming up, we use the rewards from that. We just put everything on that card leading up to it so that we had the spending money while we were there. We spent $635 on lightning lanes, minus 100 that we got back for our Guardians lightning lanes that they refunded us. So that was nice. Our flights for 4 of us plus our 2 check bags was $480 round trip, which was another reason.
Not bad.
Yes, this was really doable for us. We paid about $400 for our rental car for the week. The carriage ride, again, with the Visa discount was $58. We paid $102 for our double stroller rental for the week. Most of our character meals came out to around $200. That was the Ravello character breakfast that we did at the Four Seasons, as well as the Cape May character meal breakfast. The Artist Point dinner was closer to $250. That was definitely the most expensive meal that we had while we were there. Our 2 meals at boat rights were about $100 a piece. I would say we spent probably around $500 on other food and drinks kind of throughout the week. The Starbucks, the ice cream sandwiches, all the quick service, anytime we went to the food court, I would say it was between $75 and $100 for the 4 of us to eat, either at the food court at the resort or Nomad Lounge or any of those other places that we stopped. We didn't do a ton of merchandise shopping. Justin got and the girls got a couple of t-shirts, and they both got some stuffed animals and the pin lanyards, but that was pretty much it. So that was around $250. And then we did spend about $200 on minivans after we decided that was a cost that we were willing to incur. So all in, my total that I came up with was about a little over $8,000, including everything, the flights, the rental car, and all of that. So, could we have done it a lot cheaper without the sit-down meals and all the lightning lanes and that? Yes. But we had an amazing trip. So all of it was well worth it.
Yeah, I feel like you had a lot of, deluxe touches, even if you weren't mostly staying deluxe, you went to a lot of deluxe resorts, you experienced a lot of nice meals, and you did stay at a deluxe too at the end.
Yes.
So
yeah, we really enjoyed it. The other thing that I pulled out, this is kind of random, but instead of last time we went, when we did signature books, or autograph books, we did index cards. And so the characters signed an index card that we ripped out and could put in a photo album with their picture. A couple of times ago, we've done just the standard autograph books. I was trying to think of something different. So this time we ordered these pencil pouches, like canvas.
And they're characters.
Yeah. So these ones were Stitch. Obviously, they had Minnie Mouse and a couple of others to choose from. And we just ordered the clickable Sharpie markers. And we got so many compliments from character attendants on them.
Yes, they're cute because for people that are on audio only, it's like, is that your daughter's initial?
Yeah. H for Hattie.
And it's H for Hattie, but it's Stitch, made in the style of Stitch, and then the characters signed around it.
Yeah. And so what was really nice about this is, we could keep the markers inside it so they didn't get lost. And a lot of the characters that we met don't sign right now. They just give out little postcards with their, this was Bitsy, the little super kitty that we met, and the character meals that we went to when they leave the character cards on the tables. So it was nice to have somewhere to keep all of those.
Yeah, that's so cute.
Yeah. So these were
love
from
that.
Amazon and super simple. And the girls got a kick out of that. So something different. But
love that. We have a whole autograph post. Maybe we'll add that idea for people because it's a great souvenir.
Yeah.
All right. Great. Well, I appreciate that you had took the time to share with us and took such great notes and everything.
Thanks for having me. It was wonderful. We had the best time.
Well, I hope you have a good time next month as well.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
I hope you enjoyed my conversations with Kelly as much as I did. I thought that was just super fun. I love a little surprise at the end, and I'm sure her family appreciated it, enjoyed it as well. We did keep talking on Patreon, including about her upcoming July trip and about how they are contemplating a Disney cruise for the future. So I wanted to hear her thoughts about that. And we did keep talking on Patreon. That's up right now in video and audio form. I think that'll wrap up this episode of WW Prep to Go. For more information, please check the show notes in your podcast app or head to the website, wdwprepschool.com. Click on podcast at the top, scroll down to episode 519. Until next time, I will see you on the site.